What's going on, you guys? It is Coach Ike, and we have another episode of Everything Uncovered. Man, I'm truly excited for my guest, as my guest coached me. He's at one of the greatest junior colleges in the world. I'm pleasure to have him and have his insight on what's going on in the college realm from the JUCO aspect, as well as what's going on in college NCAA. But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys, kids, we have virtual training. And we also have hybrid training where you get to train with me rather wherever you are across the world, where we have DB training helping you with ball skills, football IQ, coverage, man coverage, all those things. As well as if you are close nearby, you also get to be in the DB membership where we go over financial literacy, recruiting, all these things of how to get you better and get you to the next level and reach your goals. Now, I also want to offer to coaches. I finally made this. I think this is a game changer. I wanted to duplicate myself, and I also want to be able to help other kids. So, for coaches, youth coaches, for high school coaches, or coaches who want to become defensive coordinator, or move on to the next realm and get to collegiate coaching, as well as who want to become trainers, I have made a course for you guys. I break down everything that I've learned over my 20 years of playing football, as well as coaching, playing as a professional athlete, and I put it all in this course to help you guys develop your kids, help them get to the next level. We break down recruiting, we break down coverages, we break down why you run certain coverages to certain formation. All these things I put all in one spot. And the thing about it, as I learn, I continue to add on to it. So, coaches, if you guys are interested in learning for yourself, as well as development for yourself and for your kids, that program is for you guys. So, I will make sure to put that link in this video below. So, without further ado, I want to invite my guest. He was my coach when I was at Mount SAC. We had a championship, won a championship when we got together, as well as he went to continue to win championships at Mount SAC. He is the defensive coordinator right now at the greatest junior college in California, but not only California, in the world. I have Leroy Johnson, the DB coach, and as well as defensive coordinator.
Thank you, Arnett, for inviting me to be a part of your podcast, man. It's truly a blessing, man, to always see a former SAC dog out there doing that thing. And you already know you mean the world to me, brother. I always enjoy talking to you. And, you know, every year I'm trying to get this young man to come out and coach with me, man. But he's always got things going on in his life. But again, I want to thank you, Arnett. What's
Nah,
going on, my brother?
I definitely appreciate you, Coach Johnson, because when you came, how can I say how the relationship? It was just like, man, this dude coming in late, and so it was like, all right, let's see how this year go on. But towards the end of the year, you truly show love to all of us, especially me, and I appreciate that. And you know, the things you were saying to me, speaking life into me, and then at the end of the day, you know how my recruiting turned out. You was like, Ness, whatever you need, man, I got you. So I definitely appreciate you, and I thank you for always staying in contact and just checking in on me.
As I should, man. So it's more than just about football with me, man. It's about life and man and developing friendship and helping my guys develop into positive young men. So that's why I always stay in touch with you guys, and it always does my heart good to see you guys doing well, man. Not just you, but all the other Mount SAC, Mounting SAC dogs, Dirty Boys. It's always good to see you guys doing very good in life, man. And now I'm starting to watch you guys grow and guys have your own families now. So that's amazing right there, man. I guess I'm showing my age right now. So, you know,
Yeah,
that's what I
so
do, man.
man, I appreciate it, and we're gonna jump in this, Coach Johnson. So
Okay.
right now, you're currently at Mount SAC, but I want to go back to the origin of how things started for you. So if you can share your upbringing and what your childhood was like to form the person who you are today.
Man, my childhood was just like a lot of African American young men. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom was the mom and the father. I grew up in a time where, basically you was raised by your community. So you really couldn't get away with a lot of things. Grew up playing sports, man. It's a little different from the age of sports right now because everybody is one dimensional. Everybody's just playing, focusing in on one sport. When I grew up, when I was growing up, man, we played everything, man. I played football, baseball, basketball. Baseball back in the 70s and the 80s, man, was very popular in the African American community, man. A lot of my guys, everybody played baseball. Me coming up, we just went from one sport to the next.
Mhm.
It wasn't, hey, we're just gonna focus on football and focus on baseball or focus on basketball. That wasn't even thought of. Nobody was doing that back in that day, back in those times. It was just, hey, you just go on to the next sport, and a lot of guys in my era was good at everything. We had a lot of athletes coming up. Guys were good in all sports, and then you throw in track. So, everybody kind of played football and basketball. Come spring, you made a decision. Are you a track guy or a baseball guy? Me, myself, I was a baseball guy.
Nice, nice. So I want to hit on that just because you talked about how playing multiple sports because that's how I was as well. And you've been coaching from high school to the collegiate level and the JUCO realm. How have you seen that affect kids now that they're so sport specific and not in all these multi sports?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it hurts them. It just doesn't. I don't know. That was a tough question because I grew up a certain way. So when I feel like sometimes it can limit the growth of not the growth of your kid or your daughter, but you just don't know what sport they're going to be good at.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you just pigeonhole them and say, hey, you're just a basketball player, or you're
Mhm.
just a softball player, or you're just a baseball player, you never know what sport they could be good in.
Right.
So I always feel like as a parent myself, I put my daughters in everything. Anything they wanted to play, they played until they found their niche. I just, that's a tough one, man. To each his own. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think at an early age, you never know what sport your kid is going to be in. They can blossom in more than one sport, or they can be really great in one.
Mhm.
So, but you'll never know if you just stick them in one sport and leave them there.
Oh, for sure. I think I totally agree with you. Like you never know what they can be great at or in a particular thing. But I also think it hurts their competition because sports is seasonal. But during that time they're off and they're not competing. So I know that's what, my generation, we were so competitive because we were competing year round. These kids now, they're only competing every now and again. So when I tell a kid to go run track, they said, I'm only going to train. I'm not going to run track because they're scared to lose. They don't want to compete. And that's where I see it. But other than that, I don't think it hurts them, just like you said. But that just competitive feeling all the time, which you need that edge, which gives you over another person sometimes. But I want to move on. So I saw that you attended Pomona High School. Of course, Coach Johnson, you like 6'2", right? 6'3"?
6'3".
6'3". So I don't know how tall you were in high school, but you are a bigger DB. And of course, like you said, you played all the sports. So of course, recruiting is totally different than how it is now. And we're going to get into the transfer portal NIL. But what was your recruiting process when you was coming out of high school?
Man, I didn't have a recruiting process. If I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, man, I was a knucklehead, man. I wasn't. I didn't apply myself. I didn't listen to my coaches. I didn't listen to my mom. I thought I had all the answers for everything, and it turned out that I didn't.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll touch on this a little later because I know we're gonna get into eventually why I became a coach, but um, it just really didn't, man. It was a funny story, man. I was a really short kid up until going into my seventh grade. The summer of my seventh grade, I probably was like 5'9", 5'8", somewhere around there, and all of a sudden I shot up to 6'3" in a 3-month period. So I had a lot of growing pains. The knees were bad, the hips were bad. They said I just grew so fast, and they just assumed I was going to be the next 7-footer. You
Yeah.
know, but honestly, I've been the same size since the seventh grade. I've been 6'3" my whole high school career. The only thing I did is gain weight because I was 6'3" and probably 145. Um, you know, I had a high metabolism, and it took a long time for me to get on weight, to gain weight. You know, even during my college days, I was 6'3", excuse me, 6'3", 185. Um, You know, the heaviest I got playing college was probably like 205. But weight wasn't a big thing back then. But honestly, man, I didn't take care of business in the classroom. I really didn't figure that out till later in life when it became about life.
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to do after football? You know, so recruiting, you know, it didn't go well. I mean, I was athletic, you know, I had people talking to me, but academically, I just didn't take care of business.
Yeah.
So I ended up going the community college route. I went to Mount SAC, and I still was the same person. You know, I was just doing enough to get by. And, you know, and that's some of the issues you still have today, man. Some of these kids don't take academics seriously, and they just do enough to get by. And doing enough to get by is not going to, you know, lead you to a successful life or get you to a college scholarship, lead to a college scholarship. You know, I played with some great players when I was at Mount SAC. I was one of the better DBs on our team in our program. Had a lot of schools looking at me to go to the Division I level, but again, I was slacking in the classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't like I didn't know what I wanted to do or wasn't smart enough to do the work. I just never applied myself at
Yeah.
that time. I was too busy running around, you know, doing whatever I was doing, probably chasing girls or just not caring, just want to hang out with the fellas and hang out on the quad. And, you know, I get to class when I get to class.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned from it. You know, eventually I learned from it, the light clicked, and it worked out for me as far as moving on with my life. But, you know, I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school just because of my grades. Um, you know, the recruiting really picked up for me at community college. Um, But again, I really didn't think about the academics part of it. I thought it had just happened. I could just move on. I really didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know. You
There
know, I didn't
wasn't
know the
a lot of
rules or
guidance.
requirements or anything. I didn't have no guide. I didn't have no guidance on it. I had guidance from what to do on the football field, what to do on the baseball field, what to do on the court, but never a guidance on what to do academically, how it's really going to work. You know, everybody was, oh, just get a C or just do this and do that. So it wasn't really structured for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you know, and me being the person that I was, you know, whatever happened is going. I just felt like it was going to happen for me,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
didn't. And a lot of it was because I didn't take care of business academically. I don't blame anyone but myself for that. So,
So, Coach Johnson, so I know you in Pomona area, so I know Mount SAC is close. But
mhm.
was there any other opportunity to look into going into another JUCO, or uh, not even that? Did you even know anything to JUCO prior to you going to Mount SAC?
um, I always knew about Mount SAC, but not really about Mount SAC football. I had a lot of my friends, close friends, they ran track.
Yeah.
So a lot of them would go to Mount SAC to run track. You know, our high school, our home field was Mount SAC, so I was up there a lot. Um, I really did. I heard about other community colleges. I think I visited one community college coming out. I kind of already knew I was just going to go to Mount SAC. Um, you know, coming up in the late '80s, there wasn't a lot of people from Pomona even going to Mount SAC to play football. I mean, it was rare. Um, you know, for whatever reason, it had that stigma about everything east of the 57 or wherever the cutoff was, east of Mount SAC, they wasn't even going to Mount SAC. So, you know, most of the Pomona kids, include Pomona High, Ganesha, Gary, a lot of us wasn't even going to Mount SAC until 88, 89, my freshman year. We had a lot of kids coming from Pomona, a lot of kids coming from Pasadena. You know, I made some great friends, you know, lifelong friends. I mean, it's friends to this day. I have friends to this day from people that I played with at Mount SAC.
Yeah.
But that was the only really school I kind of looked at. I didn't look at anything else. It was the closest school to me. Um, you know, my mom taught me something at a young age. Quick story, I was being recruited to go to another school out of high school. Probably should have did it. Maybe I would have been better academically, or probably not. But either way, the coach comes to my house and he's talking to my mom and myself, and my mom just asked him a simple question. It was like, "Well, how's my son going to get to school?" And I forgot what he said, and then my mom just was like, "Well, he can walk from here to get to Pomona High. So my mom was really, community based. So, you know, I was a community based player. So it wasn't no me going outside of my community. I wasn't going to go to Citrus or Chafee, which were the two closest schools to my area, or Fullerton. Um, Mount SAC was down the street. It was community based, and that's where I was going, and that's where I went.
So you mentioned that you did have success because I saw you as first team at Mount SAC your 2 years. And I remember you telling the stories. It's crazy because I know a couple of those players because they coached me as well. And you guys' defense was actually well. Like I remember you guys said you guys had a certain amount of interceptions, and a lot of guys got scholarships, but y'all still was losing. And it's just so amazing how you guys were balling out on defense. But you shared how, you were doing your thing on the field. Off the field, though, you really wasn't taking care of school, even though recruiting picked up. But can you share, though, were you ever going on visits, though? Because I know those visit trips are a little different than high school and JUCO because it's just you're older, you understand what's going on. How was that part of the recruiting for you?
Um, the recruiting was it was different. I took a few trips. Back in my day, you had. I mean, still it's the same rules. You had 5 trips, but we had a little thing going on. It was always, hey, doesn't matter if I'm going to this school. Everybody just wanted to go to trip to Hawaii. So that was like my first trip. Like, hey, I'm gonna go to Hawaii. I had no plans of going to Hawaii. I just wanted to go. That was like a little thing that we would do. A lot of us was like, man, let's just trip to Hawaii, or we're gonna go to Hawaii, but no intentions of going. I think I took 2 trips, man. I knew I wasn't going to make it academically. And I think that was like, I don't even know how I got the trip to Hawaii. But it ended up working out for me. All the other trips are unofficial, local, because I was going to go towards the end of my sophomore year. I kind of knew where I was going to go. I was going to go to Northridge. Northridge was in the process of transitioning from Division II to Division I. So they was hitting the community colleges hard because they knew they can get a lot of great athletes. They're going to get in under their Division II rules and then play Division I because a lot of guys had Division I talent but Division II grades. If that makes sense. So man, they had a lot of JC guys. Man, they had a lot of guys from Mount SAC and a lot of guys from El Camino. It was crazy, man. So that was my plan. I was like, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live my dream. I'm gonna get to finally play Division I football,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm gonna take advantage of this loophole that was coming up. Get in at Northridge and play Division I football. That was my loophole, and that was my way. Um, so recruiting was recruiting, man. Just to step back on a little bit. We did have, man, when I played there, man, we had a great team, man. I played with some great players. And I always tell his kids about those stories, man. We had some great guys and we had a really good team, but we had a lot of infighting, man. We were our team was very immature and we were divided as a team. It got to a point where we were divided because we were like the number 1 team, number 2 team in the state. We were, we were undefeated 5-0. We were living, we about to do this thing. And then we had 1 loss and it just imploded on us. And we just was, pointing fingers, offense and defense. And it got really bad. And that team, the team was really good because a lot of us played as freshmen and we were coming back as sophomore. Like I said, we started off really, really we was on fire. And we lost 1 game and it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
And, we could have been really successful, but we didn't. We still had a great, we ended up having a good season. We went to a bowl game, probably one of the first ones Mount SAC had went to for a long time at that time. Um, And I think it was, like I said, it might have been the first bowl game they had went to in like 10 years or something like that, or even longer, but it was the first one they went to in a while. So we got a chance to opportunity to play in a bowl game, but we felt like we could have played better. And to this day, and you know how it is when you get back and you start reminiscing with your guys, you talk about what you could have did or what you should have did, but for you, it was a lot easier because you guys did it. So, for us, it's always what if we'd have did this and what if this and that. But like I said, I would never go back on it, man. When I played, man, like I said, it was what we used to call it. It was the So the whole secondary is just basically built off of Pomona and Pasadena. That was our whole secondary. It was either from Pasadena or Pomona.
Yeah.
We had a lot of influx, a lot of kids coming from Pasadena because we had got some coaches, Coach Walker, Coach Luce, Coach AD, big AD for you Pasadena people, man. Y'all, y'all got a lot of ADs out there now, but I'm talking about that real AD, Adonis Jones.
Yeah.
So, man, we had a lot of influx of Pasadena, man. That was our whole back end. It was Pasadena and Pomona, man, and we just went crazy, man. And like I said, we had a lot of picks. I had my sophomore year, I had 7 or 8 picks, and I didn't even lead the team in picks. We had a guy named Terrell Miles. He had 13 picks. He's a little bitty guy too. He had like 13 picks.
Crazy.
But I had a great time there, man. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get into that later because just the consistency of Mount SAC. At some point in time, Mount SAC has just always been to the top and it's grown. But I want to get there later. I want to because you mentioned that you said you thought you was gonna go to Northridge, but you end up going up to Laverne. So what made you go to Laverne, and then how was it staying so close to home? Because back in those days, like Christian Okoye, he went to like Azusa Pacific. So, it was smaller schools and guys were still getting out. Now, if that was today's age, I would love to stay at Laverne and possibly, I don't care if it's a D3, D2, whatever it is. If I can stay home and get some little money, I'll do that rather than go to some big school and I got to go far away in the country. So just how was that for you at Laverne and then staying so close to home though?
Man, Laverne just kind of happened by accident, man. Like I said, I was set to go to Northridge. Basically, life happened for me. I ended up basically I was about to start a family, so you know, football became secondary to me at that time. I was like, you know what, I'm about to have a kid. You know, I was doubting myself. I didn't go to the big school like I wanted to. I had guys on my team, that was getting recruited heavily like myself. They were going to the Arizona State. They were going to the big Pac-10 and, San Diego States. They were moving. And, I was like, I was disappointed on where I was going. Even though Northridge was transitioning to a D1, it still was it was going to be a small D1, to me, how I felt. So I was like, okay, I'm about to have a family, like I'm just going to go to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I did. I just started working. I'm like, I got to get my money right. I'm about to have a family. So, we end up, throughout that process, I end up having a miscarriage. So that doesn't happen. So I'm still working. But now I'm not liking working because I'm working at Mattel Toys. I'm working in the warehouse. That's hard work, man. I'm 18, 19 years old. I think I'm 19. And I happen to come up to Mount SAC. I come up to Mount SAC just to chop it up with the coaches. And I see a coach that was recruiting me at Cal. He was at Cal State Fullerton at the time. I run into him. His name was Don Morrell. He's at Laverne. And he's his office coordinator now. And he sees me. He's like, "Hey man, what you doing?" I'm like, "No, I'm just working." And he was like, "Hey, you still want to play football and get a degree out of it?" And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, man, I didn't want to work no more. I didn't want to work harder. I wanted to work smarter because that was something I was always told growing up. Man, work harder, not work smarter, not harder." I always knew where Laverne was. In my community, Pomona, Laverne is like the next city over. And you can drive by there by the fair. You would see it when you go to the LA County Fair. You would see the tents. That's all I knew. I'd never been on campus. I just saw the tent, and I was like, I always wondered what it was. I didn't even know it was a school, more or less a university. I just saw the tent, and man, I ended up going over there for a visit, talking it out. And when I go on a visit, I run into a couple of guys that had played at Mount SAC. They were older than me, and they ended up there. And they had bounced back from. They had both was at Southern Utah or somewhere. And I seen those guys, and I was like, man, I'm coming to Laverne. And it worked out for me, man. It worked out for me. It changed my life, man. I was able to get my degree, made some connections. One of my mentors, he's still a mentor for me today. He was my principal when I was in elementary school.
Mhm.
And he was coaching at Laverne. At that time, he was the superintendent of Pomona Unified School District.
Yeah.
Um, so me taking care of my business at Laverne led me to my first job as teaching at Pomona Unified School District, just through the connections I met at Laverne. But that's how I ended up at Laverne. And playing close to home was great because all my family was there. My family could come, my friends could come, our coach, our head coach, Rex Higgins, was a great coach, man. He, always had time for me at his door. He's one of those coaches with the open door policy. I could always go in there and talk to him about life or, different things. And he just loved the fact that I have so many family members. So he just be every Thursday, when it's time to hand out those tickets for your, what you need. He's like, what you need, how many you need. He's like, is the family coming? Because they was coming in there pretty thick, man. So it was, that was enjoyable, to have your family there. It was almost like high school, man. My mom was able to come to the games. Um, it was great. It was great. Like I said, family, friends, coaches, from the area. So it was good. And I, was able to get a chance to play football again and, end up earning my degree from there.
Nice, nice. And I saw you also was first team. I forgot what the initials, but first team when you played up there as well. So you
Yes.
got your degree and everything like that. Everything worked out. So that was awesome. So when did you know though that you was like, okay, I'm done with football, almost started my family. Did you know you was like, I don't want to continue on to go play football, I want to get into coaching, or did you try to attempt to go continue to play your professional career or
Yeah, that's always the dream, So I did that stuff for a couple of years, trying out back and forth. It just didn't work out. So after I think I tried it for like 2 years. I already had my degree. Like I said, at that time I always wanted to coach because all my mentors in life, all the men, positive men in my life were all coaches, all my coaches. A lot of them were from the Pomona area, and a lot of them taught in Pomona Unified School District. From my baseball coaches to my youth football coaches, all have something to do with Pomona Unified School District. Like I said, talking to my coach at University of Laverne, I was just like, man, I just want to be a coach. I want to be a teacher and a coach. So it was like, oh, I'm gonna do the PE thing. I have my minor in biology, so I can do some other marking myself a little different instead of just just teaching PE. So it was just always, and then some of the classes I was taking to get my credential, we had to do so many hours at a school. So I started coaching there. I started coaching when I was finishing up my degree. So I started coaching softball. Actually, the first sport I coached was softball. I always knew I would coach football because that was just natural for me. I ended up getting right out of one of my buddies that I played with at Laverne, got the head coaching job at Bonita. Um, and he was he was a bounce back from UCLA. He was an offensive lineman guy at UCLA. He bounced back. He got the head coaching job at Bonita, and I ended up going there coaching. But I always knew I wanted to coach. I wanted to, I didn't want to get away from my sport. I couldn't play it anymore, but I could always teach it. I feel like I could always teach it, and I can pass on some knowledge to these young guys, especially, as I know, being a DB is probably the most difficult, if not the most difficult position to play. And until this day, a lot of high school team DBs, they're not well coached, or they don't have a coach. Sometimes they don't even have a coach. It's just somebody goes over there with them, but they're not really coached, so they don't even understand tech. They don't understand a lot. Some of them, the ones that are coming out a little bit polished with a little polish on them, they got a coach. A lot of them don't, so their technique is lacking. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm just gonna be a DB coach, and I'm just gonna, I'm gonna make these kids good because they just, even to this day, I don't see it. A lot of these kids, it's unfortunate. They just, the quarterbacks have a quarterback coach, the O-line, everybody else got a coach, but the DBs just, who's ever left, you go over there, you go talk to it. Sometimes it's an office, it's a guy that don't even know what to do. They don't
Exactly.
backpedal, they don't do anything. It's just bad. So
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to do, and I got into coaching, and it took off for me.
No, that's awesome because had a conversation with Kevon Seymour, who's from Pasadena, now in the NFL, and we was talking how important coaches, especially black coaches, for us, helping us, mentor us, develop us, and guide us because of being a single family household for the most part for us. And of course, it's mainly the mom who's just taking care of us. The dad is not present, and how these coaches step in. So for your story, how these coaches continue to guide you, and then look, I want to do the same thing and help these young men. That's awesome. And you want to break things, but of course you don't understand it at first. But then you're like, okay, I see the vision, I see how I can help out. So that's awesome for you want to give back, and especially at the JUCO realm, definitely need that guidance and guidance and pushing the right way. Definitely there. So you talked about how you got to Bonita, and then your coaching right off the bat. You guys end up going to the CIF and winning the championship. So how
Yes.
was that experience for you? Fairly new into coaching, and then but win a championship shortly after starting your coaching journey.
Yeah, man. That was a wonderful experience. That was my first championship. That was my fourth year of coaching. My first year I just coached the DBs. The second year, our defensive coordinator had left, Benita, and I kind of politic my way into a defensive coordinator job. I interviewed for it. I kind of BS my way into it. I didn't have a clue how to be a defensive coordinator. So once I got hired, the first thing I did is went back to Mount SAC. I met with Coach Lenny Rodriguez, and I mean I probably met with him for 2 weeks, and I just went in there and picked his brain. Hey, what do I do? How do I, schedule practice? How do I get ready for for a game? These are things I didn't know because at that point that was just my second year of coaching. So I went 1 year coaching the DB. The second year I was a defensive coordinator. Um, and I just kind of took my playbook from college. And it was like, hey, we're going to run this. But I had to go, like I said, I had to go back to my second. I had to go learn.
Yeah.
I had to go learn. I had to figure it out because I didn't really know what to do, how to, put a schedule together, what to work on, what am I looking for when I'm watching film, how do I defend this team? How do I defend certain things?
Yeah.
So, it took me about 2 weeks to get a grasp on it. 707 was all, I was very knowledgeable as far as coverages. So the coverage part, I had that already. It was the other things, how to stop the run and how to put the blitzes together with the fronts and everything. So, it was a great time, man. And, it just at the end of the day, man, as a coach, it's not always the X's and O's, it's the Willies and the Joes. So if you got good players and they believe in you, they can do anything. We had a great run. Benita was building a program. We built it from the bottom. So when we came there, they wasn't used to winning. I think we came in there in '96. The 6 years prior to that, they only won like 4 games in 6 years. They was coming off a back-to-back 0-10 season. So they didn't understand what winning was. The parents didn't understand the commitment it took. The kids didn't understand the commitment it took. They didn't know what summer league was. They didn't know what 7-on-7 was. Those kids were like, hey, we going on vacation home. We going to Lake Havasu. We're gonna be here. We're gonna be there. We're not gonna be here in the summer. We're gonna show up in August.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, nah, that ain't gonna work here. So we almost got fired before we even started practice because we were sending out summer schedules and they just didn't understand that. They just they had options to do other things. But we ended up having some great kids there, man. I have a lot of kids from that program to this day that I'm still very good. I'm very close to. David Musa, Ricardo Stewart, you know, it just happened, man. We have some really good kids. They were young. We went 4-6 our first year, 6-4 our second year. Our third year, we went to the semifinals and we lost. And and it was a home game. We get back into our locker room, and I'm just, I'm not hearing no crying.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is those young men talking about what we gonna do next year, and they was already talking about putting in the work to win it next year. And that's kind of just what happened because it was pretty much the same team. that we had. And they just, man, them young men put in the work. And it was exciting to see, man. It was my first championship. We played it at Mount SAC. We played Brea Linda at Mount SAC. And it was exciting for me. And, you know, to me, it was exciting for me, but it was just to see the joy on those young men's face, to see that they accomplished their goals that they set out for. Mm-hmm. And just to watch them celebrate, man, I can remember it to this day, just to watch them going crazy, just watching them. I mean, the same thing that happened when you guys did it. You know, you're happy as a coach, you're excited, but my excitement is watching you guys celebrate and see all the joy and see everything that you put, all the work that you guys put in, it came through, it worked out for you guys. And our game was crazy. It was a 7-6 game, so it was a very intense game, but it was exciting. And I'll never forget those championship games. I mean, I can walk through every game, every championship game, and tell you exactly what happened, who played what, who did what, because it's in there, it's in my brain, it's locked in there. So, but those are things that are exciting, man. So. We ended up winning the championship, and it was great. And then I ended up moving on to Mount SAC.
Didn't you coach at Rancho too as well?
I coached that. So I went from Bonita to Mount SAC, from Mount SAC to Rancho, back to Mount SAC.
Got you. Okay, so what made you make that transition? When did you know it was like, all right, it's time for me to move up? Because there's a lot of coaches. I actually just talked to one of my teammates. He wants to get into coaching. And I was like, would you be interested in JUCO? He's like, man, and he's like, is that considered college? I'm like, yeah, it's college. I'm like, it's a lot of coaches who went JUCO. You mentioned Coach Walker, Coach Meat, Dante. It's pretty more other coaches from Mount SAC, but not only just from Mount SAC, who went from JUCO to the college realm, and they've been doing it for a long time now. So what made you make that transition? Like, oh, I'm going to high school to junior college. And then what does that transition look like as well?
Actually, it wasn't even a goal of mine to go to community college or any college level. My goal was just to coach high school football.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. I was like, high school football, and it was great, man. High school football environment is great. It's community, well, at least it was back when I played. It was community based. Now it's a mess to me. But I had no vision of coaching anywhere else. I was satisfied with coaching at Bonita. Like I said, we had played our championship game at Mount SAC. After the game, or probably the next, I don't know, eventually Coach Mitch, which he was a special team coordinator, D-line coach at Mount SAC when I played there. And Coach Coco. Coach Coco was the defense coordinator at the time. They pop up on me at Bonita High School and asked me if I was interested. And, he was looking for a DB guy. If I was interested. Yeah. At the time, I wasn't. I was like, man, we got a lot of guys coming back at Bonita. I'm gonna try to run this thing back. Like I said, I wasn't even thinking about coaching college at all. Our head coach ended up getting ill, so he stepped back. He retired. Basically, he retired. He took a year off. So when he took a year off, it kind of just fell apart. So I ended up not even coaching that year. It happened so late. It was, it was just really bad. So I ended up not coaching. I just kind of got a chance to watch other high schools and watch some games. So the following year, they asked me again, hey, are you interested in coming? I wasn't coaching nowhere. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot. It was different. So now I'm dealing with high school kids. I knew a lot of the kids from, especially the Covina area, Pomona area. I knew a lot of the kids. But it was different. I really had to hone my skills as a coach and step my game up on what I wanted to teach these kids and understanding and learning the coverages, because it was all different from what I was running. So I had to learn different skill sets. Like, okay, if you guys are running quarters or you guys are running three, or it was different. It's coming in. Like I always tell young coaches when you come in, the first thing you want to ask a coach is, and I learned this when I was coaching. I always tell young guys, you ask, I don't care what position you're coaching, you ask that coach, am I giving you the best players I have for the position, or are you telling me what kids to get ready?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a difference. Because I'm with that group every day, so I know who my guys are.
Mm-hmm.
But you may have a coach to be like, well, these are 2 guys I want. Get those 2 guys ready, or 3 guys, or 4, whatever it is. So that's it's different, and you got to understand if you want to be part of that. So you got to see what type of DC you're dealing with, type of head coach, because to me that's a bad situation when you're stepping into a program and they're telling you these are the guys,
Yeah.
but you're working with them in every day, and maybe they're not the guy. Maybe they ain't seen the guy next to him because the guy next to him is better than him, but they don't know who he is for whatever reason. So you know, it was a learning curve. I definitely had to learn some different things because I was used to doing things my way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so once I got a feel for it, and how they wanted things done, it was easy. I was coaching the DBs. I still was doing coaching position that I knew. I played it in college. And I played both positions. I played safety and I played corner. So um, it was easy. It was, the first couple of months was a hard transition, but after that, it just kind of got easy for me.
Man, Coach Johnson, you brought up a great point, and I have these conversations with kids all the time, where their DB coach is telling them either they can't play, and the head coach is like, "Hey, why aren't you playing?" Or is the DB coach is like, "Hey, I want you to play," or the DC is tripping. Because not everybody understand what it takes to be a position coach, assistant coach, where you take orders rather from the DC or the head coach. Can you explain how to navigate as an assistant coach? Because yes, we all have certain powers, but at the end of the day, it's not our team. We don't have the final say so. So can you describe how that is to be a coach and how you have to just be able to follow directions, but at the same time help your position to get to where the defensive coordinator or the head coach envision your position to play.
I mean, like I said, it starts off with having that conversation with that defensive coordinator. I mean, I don't care if it's high school, whatever level. I mean, I don't know if you can get away with it at, I've never been to the Division 1 level, so I don't know really how that works. But for me, it kind of just worked for me. And I
Mhm.
think it works like that for a lot of Division 1 coaches, that they trust what you do as a coach. That's why they hired you in the first place. And they're going to trust your opinion.
Yeah.
But like I said, when I first came in, I had got some advice from one of my coaches from back in the day. That's what he told me, so I kind of just stuck with that when I went into the JUCO realm. And I just kind of asked the coach, like, hey, especially I was a new coach. I didn't know the kids. I knew them from playing, but I really didn't know them. They had already been in the system. They had another DB coach the year before. So I'm like, I just asked them, like, hey, do I get to evaluate their talent and pick the guys I want on the field? Or are you telling me, do you have guys in mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like, hey, I want Eichner to be the guy.
Mhm.
But what if Eichner is not the guy? Maybe the other, so, the coach was like, hey, man, it's your position.
Yep.
You get the guys ready. You tell me who the guys are. You put them on the field. I'm not going to tell you who you should play out there. But there do come some times where your DC or your head coach will say, well, how come this guy is not playing? And, you got to explain it to him. This is why. Maybe he doesn't understand the coverage. Maybe he's not physical enough. Maybe his technique is not up to par. He don't understand adjustments, or, there's a reason. There's always a reason why a kid is not playing.
Sure.
So, you just got to have that. Sometimes you got to have that conversation. And you got to have that conversation with the kid. Sometimes you got to have that conversation with your defensive coordinator. And sometimes you got to have that conversation, with the head coach. Hey, how come this kid is not playing? He was great in high school. He was awesome yesterday in 7-on-7 and 1-on-1. How come he's not playing? How come he's not getting the reps? So now you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with the kids, and you got to explain that sometimes these kids, they don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
But you have to. And my door is, I got an open door policy. So I always tell kids, if you feel like you should be playing and you want to know why you're not playing, or why you're not getting the reps, come into my office. Because I always tell them, man, man, film don't lie. We can get on here and on this film, and I can show you why I can show you better than I can tell you sometimes. So, you know, and I've been blessed at Mount SAC where I had good defensive coordinators, man. Coco, Coach Yona, me and Coach Yona had a great run, man. We probably coached together 12 years at Mount SAC. So he just got comfortable with me and was like, man, just
One
go
more,
with it.
yeah,
Whatever you
one more
want,
thing to
whatever you want
express
to do,
that.
whatever coverage you want to run, you tell me to cover. That's how it got. So I was comfortable with doing that. Anytime I coached at a high school, when I left Mount SAC, I was the defensive coordinator, so I didn't run into that problem. I was my own worst enemy. So I basically, like I said, I work with some good defensive coordinators. I really never had a problem with it. Everybody's situation is different, but there are going to come some times where you're going to have to explain yourself, and you better have a reason why this person is not playing, because somebody will, eventually ask you. Like I said, even as a defensive coordinator, my head coach asked me, not only on my position, but game plan or what's the plan, So you got to be able to answer some things at some point in your coaching career. But as a young coach, man, coming in, you got to find a way to speak to that defensive coordinator. And, one, you're not trying to offend them because you're probably just getting hired. So you got to kind of try to maneuver a way where you can kind of talk to them. And, once you build a relationship and just kind of ask them like, hey, is this my group, or, are you telling me who you put on the field? And then as a young coach or any coach, then you decide if you want to be there.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to I don't want to be on nobody's staff and they're going to tell me who I got to play, who I got to get ready. If I'm with them all day, you're coaching another position, or you're overseeing what we're doing out here on the field as a defensive coordinator. I'm with those guys every day.
Yeah.
I know what they can do and can't do. So I'm the one that's evaluating them. And if you trust me, you hired me for a reason, because you trust my skill set as a coach. So let me put the guys out there that I think are the best guys for our team. That's going to help us win.
And I definitely appreciate you giving that insight, because I've seen it from high school. Coaches are coaching a certain position, and a coach will ask them something about a player, and they will get upset. And it was just like, you gotta be able to communicate what's going on, or they're like, hey man, let's go on the board, and they get upset because they can't write up on the board. And it's a whole thing. And I'm glad you shared that, because not only for the kids to understand, but for these coaches, as they want to move up, like, look, this is a relationship that you have to be comfortable with not only your guys, but that DC or that head coach, and be able to navigate from the top all the way down to the kids. Because at the end of the day, the job is to win. And the only way to do that is unity. So if everybody's on in sync, then that's how it's gonna work. So you mentioned as well. So you left Mount SAC, came back. What has brought, and now you've been there at Mount SAC, it seems like forever now. So what has just drawn you to Mount SAC for you to be like, man, I just love it here so much? Because I love Mount SAC. Mount SAC has done a lot for me. But what for you has kept you at Mount SAC, and you like, you know what, I'm good here?
Man, just the whole vibe at Mount SAC, man. Just it's like I said, I played there. I had an opportunity to come back and coach there, and just the culture there. You know, it's a family environment. Like I said, most of the coaches at Mount SAC played at Mount SAC.
Mhm.
So that's kind of big at Mount SAC, man. The whole athletic department, man, it's kind of it's a big thing, because you know what it takes to get out of Mount SAC. You know what the pitfalls are at Mount SAC. These kids can tell you whatever. Like I tell them, I've been through it. So it's easy for us to say, man, I was walking I was going to building 26 just like he was, man. I was, going to financial aid. I know, come on, you can't pull nothing over on me. I know what you're doing and what you're not doing, man. I was hanging out at 7-Eleven too. I was at Jack in the Box too. I know. So I know the struggles, man, but it's really a family atmosphere, man. And just getting the kids, man, just to try to, as a coach, just try to prove yourself every year. Can I do it every year? Can I make this group better than the next group?
Yeah.
Can I get some kids out? That's always the goal, man. Can I get kids out? Can I get kids out? Can I develop? That's all. And then it got to a point. Can I make these kids better?
Mhm.
As a coach, man, it's all about pride, because What can I do with these kids? Can I work? You're only as strong as your weakest link. Can I make this weakest link strong? Can I make this group strong? But it's really just the family atmosphere, man. I love the culture. It's about winning. It's a family atmosphere for the coaches. It's the camaraderie that, it's guys there, man, I've been coaching with. When we went on our great run from probably 2006 to 2014, we were pretty much unstoppable at Mount SAC. And the whole defensive staff pretty much stayed together the whole time. So you just become a family, man. We did everything together. We were all married, so we're doing things with our wives and we're celebrating with our wives and our family, and we just did everything together, man. We watched the Super Bowl together. We did everything together. So we were always around each other. So, that's how it is to this day. I mean, there's coaches on the staff now, that I've coached.
Yep. I
He was
played.
there when I was there. Got a guy in now. I brought in a DB coach. He was one of my first recruits back in 2006. DB coach now. So
D-Dub not there no more?
huh?
D-Dub not there?
Who Dub?
Yeah, D-Dub, he left?
No, he there.
Okay, okay.
I know, but when I brought him in, I was like, he was one of the guys. Like I said, I recruited him to come to Mount SAC. So, it's like I said, it's more of a family atmosphere and just winning and just continue to win and see if you can do it every year. Can we bring it back again? Can we be successful again? It's a good thing and it's a curse, man, because everybody's shooting for you, man. Everybody's shooting for you. And every year you got to step up to the plate and you got to explain the culture of this program. You got to explain the tradition of the program to these new kids every year, because every year they coming after you. They ain't gonna feel sorry. I keep telling our kids every year, man, ain't nobody feeling sorry from outside.
Yeah.
They're not gonna feel sorry for us. So you got to come up here, you got to step up, and you got to fight. But man, it's just the culture at Mount SAC, man. It's just it's a winning environment. We got the best facilities in the state of California when it comes to community college, and hey, and even some D2s, man. We get a lot of D2 coaches. Some of these small FCS schools be like, man, our facilities is off the chain, man. And it's really nice, man. And we deserve it. I mean, the kids deserve it. It's not really for the coaches because it's going to be their way after I'm gone. But the kids deserve it, man. Who doesn't want new facilities? Who don't want state-of-the-art weight room, equipment, But, it's the coach at Mount SAC, man. So that's what I love about it. I came up, like I said, everything is really community based, man. For me, that's how it just brought up. And I never really wanted to leave because as I got older and started coaching, I really wanted to go. My dream was really like to go back to Laverne. So when you coach or play at a Division III, and you see how the whole vibe is, especially the whole school, it's the whole community. You just like, man, this is what I want to do. I just want to be at this school forever, and that's what I want to do. I just want to be somewhere forever. I don't want to have to go somewhere. I had, my coaching days at Mount SAC, I've had 2 opportunities to coach D1. One was just family. Both times I didn't take it was just really family. I had my daughters, they were young. And I was like, man, I'm never going to get those years back if I'm wherever I'm at and I can't be there to see her little, her soccer games, her running track, her school events. Because you can always coach. I always tell people, man, you can always coach. People are like, man, why you didn't take that job? Why you didn't this and that? I'm like, man, I can always coach. I'm 50. What am I? 53 right now, man. I can coach. You still can coach. There ain't no time limit. Ain't no date. Ain't no expiration date where you got to stop coaching. As long as you still feel young and you still understand the game, and you still know how to reach these young men, you can still coach. So I just never wanted to do it. And then like I said, I knew a lot of coaches, and and I seen the good things and the bad thing. I mean, I see, oh man, he's at UCLA now, but I also see like, man, he's at UCLA for 2 years. Now he's over here for 2 years. Now you got to uproot your family, and it's a hard life. It looks easy, it sounds good, but it's a hard life, man, on a family. So at an early age, I just wanted to be somewhere where I was appreciated and continue to do the things that I love to do, man. How many people get to wake up in the morning and say they love to go to work?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
love to get up and go to work, man. I get to wear t-shirts and sweats, shorts and sweats every day. The kids always get a laugh if they see me in something different. I'm like, I do have other clothes. There's no reason to wear my mouse sack. So, it's always shocking. They're always shocked when they see, I do have clothes, man. It's not just sweats and shorts every day, but I do have clothes. But I just love it, man. It's great, man. I'm gonna be there until I retire. I don't see myself going anywhere. There's a few times where I have stepped away, either by choice or other people's choice, but I have left a couple of times and went back to high school and came back. The year I met you, I was going for like, I think I missed 2000. I was there. 2000, came back in 2006, 2007. I didn't coach in 2008, but I came back in the spring of 2009. So I just basically missed one semester.
Exactly.
I didn't coach there for one semester, and I came back in the spring. Like I said, that's when I had the opportunity to meet you and the other guys. I had the Dina boys back there again. So
Exactly.
um, I had to break up a few fights, man. The turkey tussle will be coming up, and HS and the Stangs are just, man, they got to go at it at practice all day,
All the time.
all the time, man. And these
And
kids don't understand it. They be like, Coach, what you know about that? I'm like, man, you know how many Pasadena kids are they coached up here?
exactly.
I
Exactly.
understand I understand the rivalry. I know when it's tussle week, things gonna get
Uh-huh.
heated up here. So
And
it's always funny, but
that was the
yeah, man.
only dog up there.
Yeah, you was the only one.
The only one.
It's always only, but the weird thing is, when I coached there, it was a lot more Dina boys up there, HS boys than Mustang.
Oh,
But then lately, it's always all the John Muir guys was one HS guy. Same thing when Glass was up there. I was like, man, got to get you some help, man. But
it gets
I've
crazy.
always loved getting the kids from Pasadena because you know, they ballers, man.
For sure. And I think I want to just add on to something as far as you said something from Mount Sac, and I can tell it's special. So when I didn't know anything about Mount Sac to Coach Meat recruited me. I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was gonna go to Fullerton, and Coach Meat was like, hey, he told Austin AD, he's like, hey, you coming up here to do a workout. And after that, it was a no-brainer. But I didn't even know that everybody coaching wise at that point either played at Mount Sac or had some ties to Mount Sac. And you can tell it's different when you just know that how it is to be a sack dog. I remember being, playing arena at this point, and I had a couple of teammates. They said they went to Mount Sac. It was like we became brothers instantly. It was like, bro, you went to Mount Sac with? It was like, bro, like you my boy. Like I'm gonna look out for you more than my other teammates, even though I've been on them longer. But like, bro, we got a bond that's unbreakable. So I truly understand like Mount Sac truly is special. It don't matter what year you was at Mount Sac before or after. It's like you gonna look after each other. And like you said, everybody on the coaching staff, it's some of my teammates now who on the coaching staff who I play with at Mount Sac. And they like, bro, this is I gotta do it here. And it's awesome to have that culture because that's very important. I would love to get that at PHS. We on the verge. Mirror, they do it. So that's why they won a championship. But people don't understand it's a culture that you got to continue to keep, and Mount Sac has figured that out, and it's truly awesome and truly special. And to talk about that culture, you have been a part of many championships. So that year, that first year, that 08, we got to the championship game. We lost. The year prior to that,
We lost
they got to the championship game.
7. We lost.
Yes. '09, we finally won the championship. 10, you guys won again. 11, I think you guys won again.
No,
And
we
then
lost. We
oh,
lost in 11. We lost in 12, and then we didn't win it again in the 14.
okay. So it's just a standard though at Mount Sac. It's a very high standard, and everybody wants to compete. Everybody who comes there is the best of the best. But not only that, the coaches. I will say this, and I say this all the time. And you mentioned how Mount Sac it looks gorgeous as far as the campus. First of all, the campus prior to them remodeling was still bigger than some of the schools visits I took. Okay, of course they look much better. Two, I have never been prepared as a football player than how I was at Mount Sac. Just the details that we went over. We went over trick plays that The team ain't even showed yet. So when they ran the trick play, we already went over it. Like coaches, the details of it was very intense. And then the amount of time that we spent together, I think, like you said, is very important, not only as you guys as coaches, but as players. And that was my first time being in the locker room where the offense kind of had their own side and the defense had their own side. And we really didn't gel as a team, but as a unit, it's like, hey, y'all gotta step up. We're gonna take care of our side though. And that year we won a championship. Offense would be higher code, it didn't matter. We was like defense, we gonna do what we gotta do regardless. It don't matter what the offense does. But at the end of the year, we knew we had to rely on each other because offense was like, hey man, we got you. Our defense, we be like, hey, we can't get a stop right now. We can't figure it out. Y'all gotta do something. And that was the first time I really been on that dynamic where everybody was on the same page, offense, defense, but it still worked. And it was just something you can see. It doesn't matter sometimes how the locker room is, as long as everybody at the end of the day know what the goal is and coming together for that ultimate goal. I mean, and JUCO, and a lot of people don't understand this. JUCO, sometimes you only got 1 year, 2 years with a player, and then you got to start the process all over. Tell me, how hard is that to recruit or continue to get kids, especially with now other JUCOs or Riverside has picked up. Coach Kraft is over there. They're getting guys. PCC just recently, they had one of their best records in a while. So a lot of those Pasadena guys are no longer going out to Mount SAC. How do you continue to rebuild to get to the next level and continue to compete at a high level?
Man, like you said, it's getting more. It's difficult every year because we're surrounded by some really good schools, man. So the recruiting area is shrinking, and it's more good schools. I mean, you're surrounded by, for us, we got to deal with Citrus now. Fullerton is right there knocking on the door every year. Riverside they're always in our backyard getting guys. They're a tremendous program. Chafee, they just went 11-0 last year. So we're surrounded by 4 colleges, like within 15, 30 miles of us. It's like 4 JUCOs that we got to deal with. But it's hard, man. You gotta lift up every rock, man. You gotta hit every school in your area. You gotta reach out. The biggest thing is, like I said, Mount SAC is such a community-based school. I mean, it's such a family, and you understand it because you a SAC dog as well. So, guys, you guys that don't know, that's what we call ourselves, SAC dogs. There's no dog. That's not even our mascot, but that's what it is, man. And basically what it means for you guys to understand, Mount SAC dog, defense always wins games. So that's what it's about. So when you hear us talking about SAC dogs, that's what we're talking about. On the defensive side, defense always wins games. So that's what it's about for us. But it's difficult, man. It's hard to get guys, and then you just got to get, once you get them, because you're not gonna get everybody. You got to get the best players you can get, and then when they get there, you got to let them know how we do things, man. You got to know this is our standard, and they got to know that we're not going to lower our standards to raise yours. This is what we believe in. Every year, first day, we're talking about winning the championship. That's day one. We're not waiting the day to see after our first game if we got championship material. We're talking about it day one. We're working from day one to be a championship team. And like I said, it's about putting in the work, man. You got to go in there. You start from the bottom. It's just like building a house, man. You got to put that framework in there. Got to lay that cement down. So, and that just starts with preparation with the kids, man. Getting there with the film. Starting from the basic coverage to the basic alignment. You can't assume anything because, some of these kids don't know anything. You can ask them where the field is, and they don't know the difference between the field and the boundary. So as a coaching at Mount SAC, I learned a long time ago, don't assume these kids know anything because most of them don't. They think they do. You can be out there with a corner. One of the things I always ask, first thing I ask a corner, and I make it simple. I was like, cover 2. What's your area? What are you covering? Most of them is going to say 5 yards, 5-yard flats. That's what I got. Nah, well, that's what we did in high school. Well, that's not high school. And flats is a lot deeper than 5 yards. And you can't just sit there and cover grass when that guy runs past you. So you can't assume that these kids know anything, man. You got to start from the basic, and you just got to put in the work, man. Um, and it's all about working. If you put in the work, man, you're gonna be successful. I mean, just like for the coaches. I think one of the main reasons we're very successful, I think, is the camaraderie of the coaches. It's not just you need the camaraderie of the players. The coaches need to be like this, because if the players see that the coaches are on the same team and that they're going to trust you more, then they're going to eventually come together. It's going to start with your room. You're going to build that up. And like I tell these guys all the time, DBs, man, you guys got to be the best athletes on the field. I don't care about the receivers, the D line, everybody. You are the best group on the field. We're going to outwork everybody out there, and that's the goal. And that's every room. If every room is saying that, then that's what you get at the end. You get a polished unit, And then when I'm in my room, I'm telling my DBs, man, you got to be better than the guy next to you. You have to be better than that guy. You have to outwork him. Not only you have to outwork him, you got to outwork those kids at Citrus. You got to outwork Chafee, Fullerton, Riverside, Elko, Cerritos, Long Beach. You got to outwork them. It ain't just the guys that's in this room that you got to outwork. You got to outwork everyone. And, and that's one of the things we tell our kids, man, iron sharpens iron. We got to go out there and beat up the receivers, man, because we're going to make them better. They got to come out there and put it on us, because that's what's going to make us better. I'm a true believer in, we don't lose, we learn. Mm-hmm. So, and, watching film and different things is about learning. You don't learn from when you get the pick. You learn from when you got beat. You learn from when you when you just knock the ball down. You got a pass breakup, because it's probably was somewhere in your technique or something happened where if you'd have did A, B, or C, you probably would have picked the ball instead of knocking it down. So it's always learning. To me, it's always learning. It's, I spend a lot of time watching film with my guys, and it's not really the plays that they make. It's not the glory plays, because that's what you're supposed to do. Well, I'm going to pat you on the back for something that's what I'll put you out there to do. What we're going to talk about, and we'll watch those plays. Those are great plays. We always want to celebrate those things, but we also want to look at the mistakes, because that's what you learn from. And, I think that's what we do a good job, both sides of the ball, just learning from our mistakes and executing our plan, whatever we want to do. And as a coach, for me, I'm on the type of coach, I'm not sitting on what I know. Every year, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get better. I'm not a coach that says I know everything. I know every coverage. I know this and that. I'm calling guys. I'm trying to meet guys. I don't care if it's young guys. I don't care if it's a guy that's not even coaching. It's a guy like I could call you. Hey man, what you guys doing against this? What's the new technique? You mentioned Coach Meats. I've been knowing Meats for a long time, 16, 20 years. And I met him, like you said, coming up on Mount Sac on Saturdays. I was coaching at Rancho, and I used to bring my guys to Mount Sac on Saturdays, and that's how I met him. I never coached with Coach Meats. I just met him at Mount Sac, and we just got to talking. And to this day, I can still get on the phone, call him, and chop it up about football or life or whatever. That's my guy right there. So, it's always, as a coach, you're always trying to learn, man. You're trying to better yourself and see what you can pick up and how can you use it can I use it at Mount Sac, and these kids pick it up. But you gotta continue to learn. You're never gonna know everything. And I think that's why we continue to be where we are. I mean, because we know as coaches, like I said, we've been there. So we know what's headed for these kids. We know. I tell them all the time, I don't care what the school record is. I don't care if they look like crap on the film. They're going to play your best game against us, bro. Man. I'm telling you. I tell them all the time, don't worry about what you saw on the film. I don't care if they're 2-8. They're going to fight you harder. They're going to play their best game of the year trying to beat us. That's like their Super Bowl. Some of these programs, beating us is like their Super Bowl, and I've seen it. I've seen teams beat Mount Sac and first game of the season, second game of the season, and they under the scoreboard taking pictures, and I just be amazed when I see it. I remember that happened to us one year, and I just, I'm talking to one of their coaches, and I asked him, I was like, hey, have you guys ever won a game before? And he just looked at me. I said, because we lost one before. Yeah. So losing, it's learning for us. You can't win them all, but we gonna damn sure try. Yeah. But it's amazing to see how teams get up to beat us, and when they beat us, it's always amazing to me to watch them celebrate, because I just be like, man, this is game 2 of the season. And they celebrate. They taking pictures under the scoreboard. They run it. I'll be like, wow. Have you ever? You know, it makes me think. Have you ever won a game? Because as great as we've been at Mount SAC, and I tell our kids that all the time. I said, as great as we've been, I always ask them, you know how many undefeated seasons we've had at Mount SAC? One. You know, we've always lost a game here and there. I mean, there's been some games we played. We won we won a state championship, and we got blown out. I remember one year we played Saddleback game 1. They put it on us. It was like 49-14 or something. They put it on us, and we won state that year.
We lost a Saddleback our year. They
Elko. I think we lost to Elko that year. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not always. This is like I said, these kids got to understand the standard and what's this about, man. It's about us winning championships. It's about us getting kids out, because at the end of the day, they go hand in hand. Exactly. You know, that's our goal. The goal is not. I don't talk about individual stuff, because if we reach all our team goals, the individual things are going to happen for you. The scholarships are going to happen. You know, we're going to come to Mount SAC. You know, it's hard to sell with these kids because it's difficult. You know, let's step back a little bit. It's difficult with these young men because even starting from youth football, these kids are hopping from team to team if things don't go their way. You know, youth football, high school football is no longer community-based. You know, it's who's ever winning, whoever they think they can get them out. You know, when you grew up, didn't matter what your community looked like. If all your boys went to HS and all of them went to John Muir, y'all was gonna have a chance to win the championship, period. Okay. You didn't need to go to Arcadia. You didn't need to go anywhere else. You didn't need to leave Pasadena. It's not like that no more. Even in Pasadena, it's not like that no more. Those guys are they all over the place. Valley. It used to be like that. They didn't leave Pasadena. Pasadena kids didn't leave. They stayed at Pasadena because that was the 2 greatest programs. You know, I grew up in the era where them dudes, those were the 2 best programs. Wasn't no Bosco's and modern. I mean, wasn't no Bosco definitely back in the 80s. They may have been around, but back then it was more modern day, Poly, HS, Muir. They had some great teams, but it's football has changed, and it's hard to deal with some of these young men when they get to the community college level. So, like you said a little while ago, you only have 2 years, sometimes 3, but I mean, a lot of these kids don't stick around to see the growth, to grow as a person. Because like I tell them all the time, you're going to have a better sophomore year than your first year. You can talk to anybody. You can ask yourself that question. Did I have a better year my sophomore year than my freshman year? It started making sense to you, the coverages. You didn't have to think so much. I mean, you just kind of reacted, because at the end of the day, you want your kids to react. Your freshman year, you out there thinking. You thinking, oh, he called this coverage. What exactly am I supposed to do? Was that cover 2? Was that, you don't know what you're doing. You know, so it's harder now because a lot of these kids, if things don't go their way, you know, they'll pack up and transfer. You know, and that's the sad. That's what we're living with today, man. That's at every level. And it's so sad. It's starting with youth football. I see somebody youth football. It's a joke to me now, because one, when I was growing up playing youth football, or I played junior All-American. Like I said, it all goes back to me. It was community based. For us, for the kids in Pomona, it was a little different because, when I was young, they didn't have youth football. We didn't have junior All-American or Power Warner, so we had to go outside the city of Pomona just to play football. Okay, so you either went to Diamond Bar or you went to Charter Oak. You played there. Some of the people went to Ontario Warriors, but now, and then when I played, okay, we're playing Roland. Okay, every team in your league is going to play Roland. It's not, okay, you're going to Pasadena, you're going to Orange County. It's just totally different. Yeah. And it's more about winning to these kids, to these coaches. Let me get an all-star team together. It ain't. How is it community based?
And not only that, is it just winning? Kids, honestly, the kids, they're more developed as far as, because they're doing drills that we was doing it when we got in high school. Yeah. But they actually don't have any football IQ though, because they're not being taught anything, because it's like Madden plays. And then They worried about dress, what they looking like, and their skill set is not even there yet. And we all know some kids. I can speak of kids in Pop Warner. They was all Americans, and then when they get into high school, they disappeared. And it wasn't that they wasn't good anymore. They just had so many bad habits, and they got away with so many things that the coach let them get around. When they got to a program where it was actually like, hey, here we actually work. You got to show up
Structure.
this time, this and that with structure. They didn't play. They had to transfer out because they no longer can do those things. So it's like you said, the state of football in general, and it starts with the parents. We know that it starts with them. That's like you said, the foundation of everything. Once we get that straight, then things would get a lot better. But I said to coaches, I said my son is 3 years old. Don't know if he's gonna play football or not, but I said by the time he gets in high school, kids are gonna get paid, and you're gonna know about it. It's not gonna be kids are getting paid already under the table. Kids are gonna get paid in high school, and everybody's gonna know how much they're getting paid, and that's just where it's going to be going to for the future. I'm happy for the kids, but I don't want
Yeah.
them to think because you deserve it. No, it's just because that's the way it is right now. And it's I'm not upset. I just said I wish I was born in this time. So
Yeah, because it's a lot different. It's good and bad things that they deserve to make money. I think the NCAA went about it the wrong way. I thought they should have put a ceiling, a cap on it. But it's to me, it's out of control, man. I
But
don't.
before we get into that way, I want
Yeah,
to get
because that's a whole different. That's like 2 hours of
because
what the
we're
hell
gonna
is
get
going
in
on
there.
with football.
So 2020 happens, COVID happens, and of course, the world for the most part got to shut down. Of course, schools, but during this time, a lot of JUCOs though they didn't make it. And prior to that, schools were already slowing down because JUCO it was a lot of schools, academic stuff like that. But when COVID happened, schools start to shut down some sports. You've been, we're back up now, up and running. We're 4 years removed from that. Do you feel like the JUCOs have honestly rebound as far as a school and for their sports wise?
I believe so, man. I think I don't think it missed a beat. Honestly, it jumped right back in it. I thought uh, it did what I thought it was going to do. I thought you were going to end up having more kids going to JUCO. The numbers were going to rise because you had that year where nobody can go anywhere. A lot of kids didn't get scholarships. So if you didn't have an offer or you wasn't a 5-star or 4-star, you probably didn't get an offer, because nobody was out there to evaluate you. So that senior class and that junior class. So if you didn't have an offer on the table already, you probably didn't go nowhere. And I felt like the numbers at community colleges was going to rise. It definitely peaked a little bit. It spiked a little bit out of our school, but we always have big numbers, so it didn't really. It was like normal to us. But I think the Mount SAC administration, the school president, the chancellors, our athletic department, we did a great job of keeping our guys going, man. We was doing Zoom meetings. We were doing a lot. We would giving them exercises and workouts they can do from home or at the local park where, we just wanted them to keep busy and keep their mental state um, positive because a lot of kids, especially a lot of athletes, we do our thing on the field. So, and football and all sports, man, it's a family atmosphere. But so now you're not with your boys. It's the locker room camaraderie. It's the joking around. Now you don't have that. So that's why we had a lot of mental illness. You had a lot of mental issues going on because these guys weren't around their buddies no more. Everybody was kind of isolated, and that was going for even for adults. But now you're thinking about young men, and all they do is play whatever they're always within their sports team, so they're always around them. So now you have this separation. You have the separation anxiety going on. So I feel like our school. I don't know if I'm sure other schools are doing things as well, but like I said, I commend the administration at Mount SAC for allowing us to do Zoom and do different things with our kids. We had a lot of former SAC dogs jumping on on the Zoom, speaking to our kids, reaching out, just kind of keeping them upbeat and, letting them know. Hopefully, we were all praying that we were going to get through this because nobody knew what was going to go on. But I really think it didn't hurt. I think everybody is kind of full go right now. The biggest issue, and I know it's probably that's the next thing, is the portal. That's more of an issue than COVID. I mean, basically, we had super freshmen, man. Those kids for our group, by the time they played, most of them academically they was ready to leave. So a lot of them left in December. So I think it was tough when it first got going because they didn't know. When we first came out of COVID, it was kind of hard because they was like, okay, only 10 people at a time, and it was crazy. It was hard, but we made it work. But yeah, it was, we had a lot of rules and, a lot of things we had to go through COVID as far as easing back into it. But once we got it going full go, it was like, it didn't skip a beat. But it was that first transitioning to full go, that was hard because, like I said, they was breaking us up like, hey, no more than 10. And then it was like, okay, in your DB room, you don't want all the DBs in together. So, because if one guy got COVID, then that whole group had to sit out. So you had to deal with that going into the season. For us, we didn't lose it. Well, we didn't postpone any games because of us, but we had some postponement, for other JUCOs because they got hit with COVID, and that was a tough thing. But we kind of separated our guys because and we had backup plans because it might be like, hey, all the receivers are down.
Mm-hmm.
But Mount SAC is not that school that's going to stop these kids from getting film. Exactly. So we gonna play. We wasn't one of those schools unless our O-line went down. We were gonna play the game. We was gonna play the game. If we was gonna pick DBs, y'all played it in high school, we are gonna play it again. So we had backup plans how to do this. Hey, receiver, you might have to play corner or safety, but we were gonna play a game. But it wasn't. It was hard at first. It was scary that first year. But I still tell these kids to this day, man, COVID it ain't going nowhere, man. It's the new flu, so we're gonna deal with this to the rest of our lives, man. The flu and pneumonia have been around my whole life. So at one point, that was COVID. Pneumonia was COVID. The flu was COVID. Now it's just a part of our lives. Yeah. Same thing as COVID. COVID is going to be a part of our lives.
Yeah.
Until it's not. If they find a cure, that's great. But they haven't found a cure for flu or pneumonia, so I don't think they're going to find one for COVID.
It's here. It's here. And you mentioned something. So you mentioned about the transfer portal and the NIL. So they're here now. They're part of college. I don't see them going away anytime soon. But what have you witnessed from the JUCO aspect? Because like you said, these kids, a lot of high school kids, because I was coaching high school, a lot of kids I felt that were D1, regardless if they was D2 or not, they still wasn't getting recruited. So now if you wasn't, like you said, if you're not that 5-star, that 4-star kid, you got to go somewhere. So what are you seeing as a coach from the JUCO level, from their transfer portal and NIL overall?
Okay. First of all, the portal has always been around. It just was called something else. I mean, it wasn't even called. It wasn't called anything. So you think 10 years ago, if a kid didn't like their school or they didn't make it, they just bounced back to JC and got a fresh start and went over and played somewhere else. Now the NCAA decided to create the portal. Mm-hmm. Most of these high school kids don't understand what the portal is. A lot of these college kids don't understand what the portal is because they're jumping in there and they're losing. I mean, here's the thing. They started the portal during COVID. Right when COVID started, they started the portal. Everybody was getting a year back for COVID. So now you have the opportunity to sit and get, for young people that's watching this, if you're watching this, the portal is not a school or a place. It's just a list of names. It's just a list that kids are. It just shows a list of, this kid left from UCLA, left the USC. Those just a bunch of names with positions. Oh, he plays quarterback. He plays there. He came from here. It's just a list for coaches can go in there and look and be like, oh, okay, there's a quarterback from here. There's a receiver here. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So Now it's 23, 22. Everybody's jumping into the portal. So COVID was happening. You had a year. You can sit in there and not play and not lose a year. Now that COVID is over with, you're not getting those years back. Some kids are still sitting there think they're going to get something better. So instead of dropping down and playing at a JUCO, they're just kind of sitting there, losing all their eligibility because your NCAA eligibility clock does not stop because you're in the portal. It keeps going. So I talk to kids, they're in Division II, they're jumping in the portal to do what? To sit there and not play anymore? So the whole portal thing is crazy. Now, when it comes to recruiting JUCO, last year was the first year. Let's see, 22 is the first year that actually the portal was out there, it was big. It didn't really affect us.
Yeah.
December of 23, we had 14 guys sign D1 scholarships. So the portal didn't really affect us, and it didn't really. And this year, I think we had like 9 or 10 signed mid-year. The thing about the portal, there's two ways. I'm 50-50 on it. I get it if I was at a Division I school, and I get it if I was at a Duke. I understand it. I don't know if I like it or don't like it yet, but I understand it from both perspectives. What I do appreciate is when the university recruiters come down and they're honest with our kids. That's the biggest issue I'd have. I want that coach to be honest, and a lot of times they tell us that we talk to them. We got reports with a lot of these recruiters. They come to our school every year, and they'll tell you, "Hey, coach, we like your guy, but we're going to see what's on the portal because we might go here first, and then we'll come back. We'll work our way back around it if we don't like it." So, and the one thing I would love to see is ESPN or all these different sports places or social media start talking about the portal. Start letting these kids know that the portal could be a death trap for you. Because they're not talking about how many kids are still in the portal at the end of the year or the end of their signing period. They're just talking about the kids that got out.
Yeah.
And understand, the kids are getting out. They was going to transfer anyway. That's set up before they even get into the portal. And and you got to understand, the kids that are transferring are the big name kids. The Caleb Williams, the quarterback. It's usually quarterbacks and receivers. Those are the first guys to go, and running backs. But those kids are already at the top of the echelon. They started 3 years at Alabama, 3 years at Texas, wherever. They already have a deal to transfer. So that's what they publicize. That's what ESPN is talking about. Oh, Caleb Williams went from Oklahoma to USC. But they're not talking about the O-lineman that's in the portal. The backup guy who didn't play at USC that's in the portal. That stays in the portal because nobody picks him up. They're talking about the well-known guys that are getting out, and they're not telling you at the end of the thing, there's 1,500 kids still in the portal where they could be playing football somewhere, community college, D2, FCS, or they could have just stayed where they was at. So the portal is a tricky thing, and I know our next question is going to, well, because the portal and the NIL deal kind of touches on each other, and that's what it's all about. Some of these kids are just switching to see if they can get a better deal. Can I make a little bit more money over here? They're making lateral moves. Some of these schools, some of these smaller Division I's, to say the San Diego States, the Boise State. These programs are basically feeder schools right now. They're just feeder schools. You got kids that's going over there. They got a scholarship. So let's say Boise State, and I don't know if this happens, but I know some other schools. I just don't want to throw it out to the programs that I know it happened to, but I know it's pretty sure it happens to everybody. You're at Boise State. I'm a running back or a receiver. I'm balling. Now here comes USC or here comes Texas. Hey, man, you can come over here. We got X amount of dollars for you. Because the money that Boise State generates is not the same money that USC generates. And if I'm a kid, especially if I'm a struggling kid and my family is struggling, if I'm getting $10,000 at Boise State and I can get $80,000 at Texas, I'm going to Texas.
Exactly.
So I understand it. I understand it. But like I said, the NCAA main goal that they've always talked about since I was playing football is, or when I was a youth, is what's the word I'm looking for? They don't want to give it an unfair advantage to any program. That was the biggest thing about the NCAA. That's why they stopped boosters for paying people. That was the biggest thing. Oh, you can't pay this. You can't do the same thing that happened to Reggie Bush.
Yep.
So if Reggie Bush was playing in this time of the day, nothing would happen because that's what they're doing now. So 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were stopping that. I mean, I don't know if some of you guys ever heard of the Pony Express where Eric Dickerson played at SMU. SMU had the death penalty because basically NIL deals, boosters giving them money. They shut that down. So the whole ruling with that is I don't want to give another program an unfair advantage because we all don't compete, all universities don't compete at the same level financially. And this is why I say the NCAA screwed up when they started the NIL deal. Yes, I do believe college athletes should be paid, but I felt like they should have put a cap on it. Like, hey, for instance, they could have been like, okay, every program can give their kid up to $50,000, whatever the amount is. If the NCAA would have did that, you wouldn't have all this bouncing around because it'd be the same everywhere that they go. Whatever school they go to, everybody's getting $50,000. So you wouldn't have all this transferring.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the chaos that we see today where everybody's flipping teams every other year because it's more money. But the NCAA, what they did is, okay, you can pay them. There's no cap. Basically, there's no salary cap. Some of these kids are going to fold. I would be surprised. I won't be surprised if the NCAA is out of the loop in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they may be NCAA for the smaller schools, but for the Power Four, they're going to do their own thing because right now the NCAA can't control what they're doing.
Mm-hmm,
they can pay these kids whatever they want. And that's the problem. You know, you look at a Cal State.
And we still not mentioning, though, they still not paying the kids to play. Like, we talking about NIL and these collective. And like you said,
yeah.
I believe the kids should get paid to play. I don't care who you are. And there's certain kids who aren't. And we know certain schools, they pay everybody and certain people on budget. But I think the NCAA should pay.
Some schools are like that. They have that collective, which is for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like in some schools, I won't mention any names, every kid gets like 40 grand. Everybody on the team. But see, that's their collective. But then you have the individual, and it's usually the quarterback or the receiver. They're getting, look at Caleb Williams.
Yep.
I would love to see the breakdown of the amount that Caleb Williams got and the rest of the players on the team got.
For sure.
Because every school, like I said, it all boils down to I can't compete with certain schools. Nobody can compete with Texas money. You can't compete. You ain't going there. USC is a little different. UCLA can't. UCLA is struggling.
Oh yeah,
with that. UCLA is struggling big time. Cal Berkeley is going to struggle with that. Stanford, a lot of these schools are going to struggle. They're not going to be able to keep up because why would I go to UCLA or stay at UCLA where I can go over here and make $100 grand, and they're not paying me anything, or they're paying me $10 grand, or they just giving me some meal cards or whatever they're doing. You're not going to be able to compete with it. So the rich are going to continue to get rich, and the poor are going to drop. Like I said, I just have a feeling that the Power Four conference, the mega conference that they're building right now, they're going to separate from the NCAA. Because it's going to come a point where they're just going to play each other.
Yeah.
Because if I'm San Diego State, why the hell I want to play Texas? They got the best team money can buy. And it's all legal. It's the part of the game. That's what we wanted. That's what the NCAA wanted. We're going to let them get paid or get money or whatever. Look at Utah. They gave everybody on the team brand new trucks.
New trucks.
Every school is different. Every program, everybody's boosters and is different.
Nah, for sure.
So look at Utah. Utah got the Mormon church behind them. You know how much stuff they own? They can get all of. Where do you think them trucks came from?
Exactly.
You know, you can't compete. You know, some of these schools are just you can't compete with them. You're not like I say. Some of these schools are going to be. Like I say, UCLA is going to be the UC schools are going to be in trouble because you know even though they got boosters, every school has boosters or alumni. I mean, it's not really boosters, just alumni that can give money. But you're not going to compete with. You're not like I said. Nobody in the country is going to compete with Texas money. You ain't going to compete with that oil money.
Yep.
You're,
Texas,
you're not going to compete with them.
all them.
So you're going to create the divide is going to continue to get bigger.
And
And now you
I think it was some great insight what you said as far as the coaches coming down to the JUCO, because I thought when the transfer portal was going to happen, I thought JUCOs were going to excel because I know this, that coaches want guys already developed. I know that for a fact because coaches know they don't have a long time. They have to have success now. So I thought they was going to go to transfer portal, like you said first, and then they was going to go to JUCO, and then of course they was going to get their top
high school kids.
high school
Yeah.
guys. But I thought because JUCO, you always can get a guy in the spring or the summer, especially if you can get him in the spring, he can contribute, he can learn to play
Right away.
and get on the field right away. The same with your transfer players. They can transfer in the spring, they get to learn. But now you got these high school kids who are also graduating earlier who go into the spring now. So I thought the JUCOs, they was gonna miss a beat. I'm like, the transfer portal, I saw it as a big JUCO. They're gonna get guys who are ready to play now. I actually talked to a coach. They said we are looking for guys who know the coverages and we don't have to teach them and they can play now. And this is a corner coach telling me at a D1 school. He's like, I'm looking for that more than anything. And then also these last 2 seasons, though, what I've seen, and certain guys I've seen, I use SC just because they're local. I've seen dudes who were from Iowa, who were from like another lower tier school, and they transferred to SC and they was playing. I said, that shows you though now that because they wasn't highly recruited to go to SC from the beginning, and they're playing now, they just raised their stock. Though they raised their stock. It's going to work for some guys. For some guys, it's not going to work though. They raised the stock where now I can go somewhere else now, or I can stay here because I already played at SC. So, like you said, I think people can use it wisely if they understand that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about just money. You should be going somewhere where you're going to play. That's the whole point of you playing football. Now, if money is what you want at the end of the day, hey man, I cannot get mad at you for that. But at the end of the day, what people are not realizing is, and I realized this when I was a professional, your brand is so important. If you can build a brand, because this is the biggest platform playing football, college football, people, you're on TV, and as it's depending on what school you're at, this audience that you have, if you can create a brand, regardless if you play at the next level in the NFL, if you create a brand in college and you're able to keep that audience to move with you as you grow up, that's more than any money you can make in that certain years. But people aren't understanding because it's all about now. They're not playing a long game. So that's why I try to help kids understand, like, look, we got to look at the long game. Yes, we want to maximize the earning potential as much as possible. That we're not going to be silly about that. But how can we create something that follows us and it's a longevity to where now I have a legacy built off of what I did in college? I didn't necessarily need to go to NFL to create a legacy. I didn't need to go to work per se like everybody else, my peers did. I didn't have to go in that corporate world because I understood branding myself now in this environment rather than I put everything banked on the NFL. And I want, and I was so mad. Everybody got upset with me because they said that Caleb Williams, like he wanted part ownership. And it's like, oh, he's crazy. He's this and that. I said, that is truly smart because
Why not?
if everybody else do that, that means now that that the NFL be like, we got to guarantee there's a certain amount of money. Like these dudes already coming in with money. Now we gotta start guaranteeing. All it takes is one person Now, of course, they're gonna shun. They're gonna like, oh, this person sees out of
They're
her.
always gonna shun the first.
Exactly. But once it become normal, man, hey, if you want me, I need part ownership. I need this, I need that. That's negotiating. But when we get mad when it's a kid who we do this in business, that's done in business. Why can't a young man who understand his value and it's very limited time, you only play 4 to 5 years in the NFL.
It
So why
doesn't never hurt to ask.
man, never.
If they say yes, great. But the NIL deal, these young men getting money, man. What they also need to learn, they need to start really helping these young men is understanding the financial side of it. A lot of these guys are getting a lot of money, and they're getting the money and they're spending the money, and not realizing that Uncle Sam is going to be coming for you. Because a lot of I don't think they're teaching these kids that, and I hope they are. I'm not 100% sure, but there's some financial responsibility coming to getting this money because it's not tax free money. At least that's what if my understanding is right. I don't think it's tax free.
If they get it
So
on the table, yeah, but yeah, if they
yeah, so these kids got to start understanding how to deal with this money they're getting, especially some of these big time players, man. If some of these guys are getting a lot of money and if they don't have a financial advisor, they can end up in trouble with this money. And you got to teach these young men how to handle this type of money. There's so many pitfalls when it comes to money. So you got to know how to understand, especially if you're dealing with a kid that's coming from a community, coming from a situation where he's never had money. He's really gonna spend. He ain't never had nothing. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy it. Because even the ones that come from money, they still do crazy things with their money. But the kid that's never had anything and this is their first real taste of money, that kid is probably going to blow that money on something stupid. And I've seen it. I know guys that like, what are you doing? Oh, I just bought a car. I bought an Escalade, coach. Dude, you ain't even got drafted yet, but I'm gonna get my agent is telling me this.
Oh,
All right, well, you'll figure it out in the long run. You'll figure it out.
no, for sure.
So, but the NIL, I mean, all of it, the portal, the NIL is very interesting, man. I just wish they would expose more about it because I don't think a lot of kids understand that's what's going on in the portal. It's mostly the higher echelon kids that are transferring immediately. And a lot of the other kids are just kind of sitting back hoping that something happens. Or they're just, it's about money for them.
Yeah, yeah.
That money's not going to last forever. And you're not even, and I get it. And it's, I get it. Coming from, if I was a D1 coach, I get it. Why would I take a high school kid or a JC kid when I could take a kid that started at USC for 5 games or started at Alabama for 5 games? I'm probably going to take that kid before I take those kids. And I get it. As a JC coach, don't necessarily like it, but I get it. But it hasn't, for us at Mount SAC, it hasn't really hurt recruiting. But like I said, we've been dealing with some honest coaches, and they just kind of tell us, and they tell our kids, hey, you know what, we like you, but our head coach, or every program is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every program builds their program differently. You're going to get kids that's going to have you're going to get programs that have a ratio. Hey, I'm taking 10 high school kids, 5 JC kids, and I'm going to get 8 kids from the portal. However their ratio is, that's how they're going to build their program. Good, bad, right, wrong, whatever. That's how they're going to build their program. Some of these programs, I can't think of the name of the school. I know it might be the wrong school, but it's one of the Texas schools. They had a great year. They probably had they kind of did the Colorado thing. They had 40 portal kids in there. So every school is different, man. Some programs take JC kids, some don't. Some just all high school. Some programs love JC kids. So what I would tell high school kids, man, give JC a chance. JC has built a lot of players into good D1 players. They got their degree. The magic word is free. I'm a type of coach. I don't care where you go. I want you to go. Hopefully, I just want you to go somewhere where it's free, where your education is going to be paid for. I don't really care if it's USC or Tennessee State. I don't care what it is. If they're going to pay for your education, take advantage of that. Everybody has a goal. Everybody wants to go to the top school. Everybody wants to go to the Alabamas and the SCs and the Florida. Everybody wants to go there. But if your skill sets doesn't match with that school, go to a school that wants you. Go to a school that's offering you a free education. You know, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And you'll hear this at Mount SAC, and you probably hear it at other schools as well. Football is going to be over with way before you want it to be. And what are you going to do? The average NFL career is 3-4 years. Even if you play 10 years in the NFL, you're probably 31 years old when you're done. Now the money's a lot better, but you think 10, 15 years ago, they wasn't making the money that they're making now. They wasn't getting guaranteed contracts. Now that's that guaranteed contracts is just starting to happen for other positions besides quarterbacks. Only the quarterbacks was really getting the real big money and guaranteed contracts, and their contract is still way bigger than everybody else's. So, as a coach, I feel like it's my job to try to educate these guys on the value of an education. What you're gonna do after life, because like I said, you're 31 years old and you play 10 years in the NFL. We see it on ESPN or the news all the time. Where how did he lose all his money? How did he make $80 million and now he's broke? And now he's broke and he's 31 years old. And that's if you had a 10-year career. The average is 3 to 4 years. Most guys don't even make the average. So you make $100,000, $200,000 the first 2 years or whatever, then what are you gonna do after that? So, education is key, man. That's, I'm always selling education. Man, JC is a great route, great stepping stone. It's still collegiate football. There's so many guys in the NFL that came from community colleges. So many that's doing great. So many Hall of Famers, community college guys. So it's a great stepping stone for you to develop your skill sets, get noticed, and parlay it from whatever you're gonna parlay it into. But hopefully it's into a degree. At the end of the day, man, you go to school, you want to get a degree. And now, like I said, I'm glad that they're paying these kids money. I think they deserve it. They put a lot of work of blowing up, providing exposure for these universities and not getting paid for it. They go to these bowl games and, man, that university is making all kind of money. And these kids are, some of these football has changed so, man, it has changed so much from the time I was in college, because there was no training table. You wasn't eating every day. Now you eat all year round. Back then it was during football season. You may got something to eat, but now it's a little different, man. The game is different. It's going to continue to change. I don't know if the change is good or bad, just because now you got money on the table. And some schools are going to make a whole lot more money than other schools, so they're going to be able to pay their players more. So we'll see. Only time will tell how it's going to work out.
For sure. So, Coach Johnson, I wanna talk about this past season.
Okay.
You've been a defensive coordinator the last 2 seasons up there at Mount SAC. You guys had a great run this year. You guys went undefeated, went to the playoff game right before the championship game. Played the rivalry with Coach Crab at Riverside, and it was a heartbreaking loss because you guys was leading for the most part and lost it towards the end. And like you said, Mount SAC, is really in only one undefeated season, really. But how much of that affected you personally? And then what do you look forward to getting back to that championship or getting to that championship game for them?
Man. Personally, man, that thing, it hit me hard. That one hit me hard. Usually games don't hit me hard like that one did. That one hit me hard. Like I said, we were up by 14 at halftime, and we let it get away from us, man. And as a DC, man, to me, it fell on me. I felt like we couldn't get a stop, and it just got away from momentum, man. Momentum is a key, man. Once you lose it, it's hard to get it back, and we couldn't get it back. We couldn't get a stop when we needed it. So it was hard, man. I couldn't sleep. For 3 days, I literally could not sleep. Like it was just going over in my head. What could I did differently? What could I have done differently? And I don't think I watched the film until, well, I just watched it 24. I watched it in January. I just watched it like maybe 2 weeks ago. And then once I watched the film, and then it was more of us making mistakes, the things that you can't notice on the, you can't notice from the sideline or the booth. You only notice them when you're watching film. So when I'm watching film, I'm looking at all the mistakes and again, even the mistakes, they fall back on the defensive coordinator. So I got to hold myself accountable for the actions of those young men out there. I don't know why we played the way we played at the end, because when I look at the film, it really looks like we never even practiced anything. I mean, that's what it looked like when I looked at film, and I'm like, man, did we even practice? Did we just show up on Saturday and walk on the field? Because that's the kind of mistakes they were making. And I was just like, dude, we go over everything. I mean, you know me as a coach, I touch on plays that I think this is going to be the next play. This is what they can do off of these routes. This is what they can do. I touch on all of that throughout the week. In my eyes, every play sets up another play. So we got to be able to be ready to counteract anything that they do. But we just, for whatever reason, I got to look back at my notes and kind of figure out what can I do differently, and just learn from it. Like I said, it's learning. Losing is learning for me. When I lose, how do what did I do? What did we do wrong? Is it, because the first thing I looked at, well, damn, was it my play calling? Let me look at the calls. No, this was a good call. We didn't, a lot of it we didn't execute. Some of it they had, they make some plays. There's some plays, man, where our DBs are right on the guy. The guy is diving, making a catch. They're both diving. He's diving to deflect, to knock the ball out of his hand. He's diving to make a catch. I can't do nothing. If a receiver ever has to dive and make a catch, that means that DB was pretty sticky on him. Exactly. So it was some plays where I'm just like, well, I don't know what else he could have did differently. Maybe a little more handsy off the line of scrimmage, out of press technique. But anytime a guy is diving and making one-handed catches, God bless him, man. He's working. He's out there working hard too. But I did take that game hard. I took it personal. I felt like I let my team down because I think our offense was rolling. We had a great offensive line, man. Our running backs were rolling. And I felt, man, personally, I felt like, man, I let these kids get around. I let it get away. Because you like I say, you played at Mount SAC for 2 years, man, and you've been there on that loss. And you guys just worked harder to get it the next year. But some of those sophomores ain't gonna get that chance. And that's what you look at. You look at it as a player standpoint and a coach's standpoint. What can I do to get better? And I said it earlier, man. Sometimes it's not the X's and O's. Sometimes it's the Willie and the Joes, and sometimes it's a little bit of both. We got to, So for me, I do the same thing I do every year at the end of the year. Even if I was a DC or just a DB coach, I look at every play and look at, techniques, things I need to improve on, things I think I need to improve on. So now as a DC, I just kind of look at everything like, how can I stop this? How can we be better at this? What do we need to fix? What do we need to work? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to visit? I'm calling my guys. I'm always calling my guys. That's how I was, like I said before, I'm not a coach that believe I know everything. I feel like I can always learn. If one book is closed, so I look at it like this. If I got 3 books, I got 3 books in my life. One book is closed right now. One book is open. And one book is ready for me to read it. So right now, I'm in the middle of that open book. So that's what I do in the winter. I just try to get better and trying to, calling coaches, trying to set up clinics for my staff or just for myself and just, ask them. I just ask people things. I don't feel like I know everything. So I'm asking, like, the biggest thing right now that you see is slot fade. So I'm calling, man, what are you guys doing to stop that? I'm always asking, man. I get coaches in there, recruiters come in there. Don't let it be a DB coach or a DC. Hey, coach, you got 10 minutes. We can get on the board. Or, hey, what are you guys doing against this formation? Or are you guys having problems? How do you stop this? And how do you do that? And I'm just picking their brains. That's what I feel I need to do to help myself and to help my program. So I want to continue to grow as a coach. I've been coaching, half my life. Over 20 years I've been coaching, and I've never once thought I knew everything, everything. I always felt like I could always learn. I always had great mentors when it comes to coaching, man. And pretty much they're all DB guys, from Coach Walker. He was my DB coach when I was at Mount SAC. He's coached in the NFL all over D1, and having friends like Meats and Dante and some of my ex-players, Jay Rich, that's coaching at a high level. So I'm always calling those guys, especially the guys I trust. I can always just get on the phone call and just, hey, man, what y'all doing? Or, hey, jump on Zoom and let's jump on the board, man. What you see and what do you think? And I'm having problems with this and that. So I'm always reaching out, trying to be a better coach. But that loss last year did it hurt, man. So I'm just gonna get back at it. We're gonna go back to work. We're gonna work harder. We got a lot of guys coming back. So, there's no excuses. I mean, no excuses. I mean, we had a great, at the end of the day, when I got over it, a lot of people was on the internet, social media, man, they was hitting your boy hard, man. So I just, like I told them, hey, I'm still proud of my guys. Yeah. I'm still proud of them. Hey, we took the worst time. We took a bad time of the year to have a bad game. Every team is gonna have a bad game. It's just this ain't gonna work. And we had a bad game. Yeah. But the other 10 games of the season were great. For 11 games, we only trailed for 20 seconds or 35 seconds the whole year. And it was the last game. When you look at the game, we had a pick six for a touchdown. We had 7 sacks, and we still lost. So, it wasn't like we wasn't doing nothing. We just, they had some guys, and, it was what it was. But, my job now was to regroup, get better, come at it with a different thing. I'm going to continue to do what we do at Mount SAC, and you know what that is. We're going to get after them. We're going to play, we're going to do what we do at Mount SAC, and get some guys in, My job is a lot easier when I got ballers. Mm-hmm. And that's at any school. The job is easier when you got kids, but, it's about just regrouping, getting out there, working a little harder, and just hope the ball bounces your way, man. It's a game of inches. I mean, even when you won your championship, there's a couple of games we could have lost easily. Definitely. It's a game of inches. Definitely. I mean, like I said, we won our championship, or you guys won your championship 7-6. Mm-hmm. So it's a game of inches, and the game can go either way. It just didn't bounce our way, man. But, the goal is always to get to the championship. I never say we're going to win the championship, but the goal is to get to the championship, because anything can happen to the championship game. So it's always a journey for me to watch these kids grow to be successful. Last year was the first year we won. It probably was 4 years, 2019, maybe like 4 years since we won league outright by ourselves. First time we went 10-0 in league since 2010. So, it's the pride is always there, but I'm always proud of my guys, man. We always gonna go out there and fight. If it works, it works. If it don't, I'm always sad for the sophomores, but like I tell them, man, we had a great run.
Oh, definitely.
You guys had a great run. Some of you guys came from other programs where you didn't win. Some of you guys were here last year. You're not gonna win them all, but we damn sure gonna try to win them all every year, man. That's just what we do at Mount SAC, man. And every year, I'll tell all my kids I recruit, man. I said the one thing about I could say about Mount SAC, it is the most consistent program. I said if you look the last 20 years from 2000, I think our worst record was 6-4. Mm-hmm. We're in there every year. We're in the mix every year. We're always 8-2, 9-2, 10-1. We're always there. And I can't say, there's a lot of good programs around Mount SAC. You're gonna compete against the best. You ain't gonna play some of these other schools. You're gonna play the best schools around. I said, because when it comes down to it, when the recruiters come to Mount SAC, they're gonna ask you, well, how'd you do against Fullerton? How'd you do against RCC? How'd you do against this school? Certain schools, they ain't gonna be asking you. They don't want to see that film. And you know what I'm talking. I don't want to call out names, but you know what I'm talking about. They don't care about how you did against that team. Well, how'd you do against Riverside? How'd you do against Long Beach?
Exactly.
And that's the love of the Mount SAC family, because you know how it is when y'all get together, and man, I be on some crazy group checks, man. And guys are just, or coach, who was the best DB group had, and who is this, and Well, I hear the guys arguing when you see them at a game or they come up to practice. And you guys, well, how'd y'all do against Long Beach? Did y'all beat Riverside? We beat Riverside. So it's always funny to listen to the guys argue and go back and forth. But it's, they always pick me in in the middle. Well, coach, who was the best group? Was it 2009? Was it 2012? Or 2014? What class was it? Well, we did this and we was all league and we won this, and so it's funny just to hear them. But that's the Mount SAC way, man. That's how it's supposed to be. When you get together, it's all love, and then you still competing. Even though y'all playing, you competing about who did what when you in your season. Who won who? Y'all didn't even play this team. So it's funny, man. I always enjoy listening to my former guys because it's funny.
I be feeling like Mount SAC, just defense. I can speak for the defense. I feel like it's like a Ravens or the Pittsburgh. All they do is talk about defense and who's the better defense, because that's the staple. At Mount SAC, it's like, look, man, this is what we allow. This is what we did. So it's just like, and it's that tradition. And of course, and I remember I texted you after the game, and he was like, man, this was on the Dirty Boys. He was like, this one hurt because it's on us. And he was like, but like you said, you gonna rebound. And honestly, that's how we felt that first year, my freshman year, and came back hungry. Everybody was focused, like everybody. And any freshman that came in, we was like, look, this is what we doing. It don't matter about anything else. If you ain't with it, y'all got to get out. So
and that's truly how it still is. Because you got to think about, from last year's team to this year's team, I didn't have no DBs. My starting DBs from 2 years ago, they were all sophomores. So this year, it was a whole new secondary. Like only one guy that was on the team that played for me last year. The rest of them were all transferred or freshmen. So it was new. But just like you said, the sophomores came in and are like, this is the goal. Either you with it or you got to find somewhere else to go. And that's how it is year in and year. The turnover at community colleges, it's rare. It's every year you got a turnover. So it's really up to the coaches for these kids to understand the standard at Mount SAC, and it's up for the sophomores to let them know. And the sophomores got to be they got to be the leaders. So if your sophomores are not leaders, then you at a community college, probably gonna have a bad season if they ain't about that work. But then again, it comes up to your coaches, because at Mount SAC we don't. If you ain't gonna be about putting in that work, then we're gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you to leave. You ain't gonna. I can't ask you to leave, but I'll ask you to leave, because I just don't give you reps. You just stand there and watch. I always tell them, get reps with your eyes. What that mean, coach? Watch. Just watch. Eventually, you'll figure out you ain't getting no reps and leave. But, you got to come to Mount SAC and work, man. So if you ain't coming in there to try to win the championship, then Mount SAC is not probably the place for you, because we're going to play some real teams, man. We ain't scrimmaging no lower level team. People are like, who y'all scrimmage? I'm like, dude, we scrimmage Riverside. Exactly. We ain't scrimmaging some of these smaller schools that we know we gonna beat up on. How's that a test for us? How we know what type of team we are? We gonna go Riverside. Y'all not in our league this year? No, let's scrimmage then. Exactly. Let's see what we gonna know what we are right now. We gonna know what we need to prove on that by next week when we play when we open up. Because when you play a lower level team, man, or a team that's not very good, you still guessing like, how good are we? We did what we supposed to. We beat up on them, but are we any good? So you really don't know. So it's always satisfying, man. It's always funny, even with the coaches. Like, we'll hang around and we're hanging out and be like, well, who's your top 10 DBs, coach? Then I'll be like, it's crazy. I'll be like, well, you talk about corners, you talk about, I try to break it up, but it's hard, because you be forgetting the guys, and then they be like, well, what about that guy? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's hard, man. I can't pick, man, but you know me, I keep it real with these guys. You know how I do. I tell them, man, y'all. I had you speak to the guys a few times. You spoke to them last year. I tell them right there, man. Y'all ain't none of y'all right now better than him. Yeah. Straight up. I don't care. I ain't trying to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to get you to come out here and work. And it's always the Dirty Boys ain't playing. Y'all come out there and tell them too. I'll work y'all right now. I get guys come up there, man. It's real. The DBs be up there, man. They be the dirty boys. They come up there and they get on my guys. Yeah. And I let them speak to them. I walk out the room, man. Y'all speak to them how y'all need to speak to them. I won't even be in here with y'all, because I love it. I love it when my guys come up. I love it when they get back.
Got to. Gotta carry that tradition.
Oh man, got to keep it going, man. And shout out to Coach Meeks, man. He the one turned it, Dirty Boys, and we've been rocking with that
Nah, for a minute,
20
man.
years.
I wanna. This is how I knew Mount Sac was different because this is my freshman year, and Coach Jab, he would always preach. He said the best guy's gonna play. He said, I don't care who it is. So we are in the springtime. Summer come, season's about to start, and it was a quarterback that came right before the season, and it was a dude who was there for spring and summer. The dude that came just before the season started, he was better. And sure enough, he started. He said, y'all thought I was playing? He said the best guys was going to play. And that set the tone because it didn't matter. And everybody could appreciate it because, some people like, oh, this is my guy. He going to play. Mount Sac, that's one thing I love. The best guys going to play and compete all the time. It don't matter who you are. And I truly was
We
thankful.
had a guy, we've had several guys. We had a DB in 2010 named Steve Gallen.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Gallen showed up a week before our first game. By game 2, he was starting corner.
Hey.
He was just, I was like, dude, I was like, look at yourself, man. And sometimes I gotta tell guys, man, keep it real, man. You know when a guy is, or you
Exactly.
like, this dude is real. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't act like he better than you.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I get, as a coach at any level, you always gonna get kids why I'm not playing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you got to be honest. So I be like, sometimes if you catch me in a bad mood, and I'll just be like, I don't be trying to embarrass kids or make them bad, but I'm like, man, he better than you, dog. That's why you're not playing.
I tell the truth.
I don't care what you do, he's still gonna be better.
We gotta keep it real.
You
But
gotta
Coach
keep it real,
Johnson,
man. Sometimes he's just better than you, man.
man, I got one last question for you because I
Yes,
don't want to
sir.
take too much of your time. You kind of answered it as far as the advice you would give to coaches who want to go off to the next level as far as continue to grow, continue to ask. So I want to ask you this question. And we talked about the SAC Dogs and how that is. What do you feel about our former SAC Dog, who is now head coach of the Raiders, Antonio Pierce, who is now he was the interim, now he's
He's the
announced
guy.
the head coach. How do you feel about that as a SAC Dog is now a head coach in the NFL?
Oh man, the pride is overwhelming. The funny thing is, man, AP is still around, man. We still, we still talk to him. So before, I was talking to him when he was at Arizona State. I talked to him with that Long Beach Poly. So he was still around. So it was great just to see him out there doing what he's doing, and people be like, man, he really like. I mean, I was like, that's genuine AP, man. That is him. What you get from him that's him. And that energy, that's what he brings to the table, man. His knowledge of the game, man. You got to understand the dude played 9 years in the NFL, was an All-Pro, won the Super Bowl. So he has knowledge of the game, and I think he's going to grow. I think he's going to surround himself with people that's going to make him a better head coach because it's all new to him. But he's definitely going to be a man of his word. And man, I mean, just like last year, man, those guys are going to gravitate to him, man. Just his energy, man, and him just keeping it real. So he took the same energy he had at Mount Sac and just took it to the Raiders, man. They kind of it fit like a glove, man. So us at Mount Sac, man, we're super proud. Like I said, his dad still comes to our games. Like this year, I mean, his dad every year is at our games.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a player because of his dad. AP is always around. I'll tell you a quick story. He's at Arizona State. One of my DBs gets a scholarship to Arizona State. He played safety for me, but he was a corner for him. He was a starting corner. So he doesn't know AP. He's just getting there. They're in the hallway somewhere. AP is walking. He said he's walking to go into an office. He's with somebody. They're about to go talk about whatever. Kid's name is Joey Bryant. About 6'1", 6'2", 180 corner safety. Athletic as hell, can play. So he's in the hallway. He knows all about AP. I don't think he's met him yet. He's in the hallway. And AP is like, man, all of a sudden, I just hear somebody yelling at the top of their lungs, "SAC Dawg, SAC Dawg." And AP said, I just started laughing and looked at the guy he was with, was like, Yeah, man, that's a SAC dog thing. You would understand. And he just said he would have just told the guy that the guy was from Mount SAC or whatever. But that's just how it is, man. That dude is a true SAC dog. There's some interviews like when he first got I think after his first game, he's getting interviewed and a guy eventually he noticed who the guy is, and you see this big old, you see him light up his face. And the guy is actually one of his teammates. He played with at Mount SAC. And he just went on about the whole Mount SAC thing and how they won the championship. And it was just great that he noticed this guy and just to see him light up and then just to even talk about Mount SAC. But no, man, I think he's gonna do. I think he's gonna do great, man. And I'm happy to see him, climbing that ladder. And nobody believed that he can do it. And for a guy that never even had his only head coaching position was at Long Beach Poly.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him become, because sometimes it ain't about coaching, man. It's about leadership and guidance and the belief, man. Like you can get those, like I said, if you get those kids at any level to believe in you, man, these guys will run through a wall. They ran through a wall. Basically, they ran through the wall for them.
The whole
So
season.
it ain't all about coaching. It's about, man, belief. Them dudes believed in him, man. He changed the culture in 1 week. Basically, he changed the culture for the Raiders in 1 week. Yeah. And those players responded to him. So, that's it's great for him.
As a Raider fan, I was excited and I already knew he was from Mount SAC, so I love the hire, and I'm truly excited to go to a game and see them in live action. But Coach Johnson, man, I definitely appreciate you for your insight, for
man, thank you.
Journey. We connected, and I'll be seeing you soon as I come up there to the school. And
yes, sir.
I appreciate you for everything you've done for me and for what you continue to do.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. I just want to say, hey, man, God bless you. Continue to grow as a young man. Take care of them little ones and just keep doing your thing, man. You're doing something very positive for your community, teaching these young men how to be men and how to grow into great football players. So I saw the little clip you put up about your young buck at Chino Hills, right?
Yeah,
so to see him grow from, the video, I was like, man, that's an amazing feeling when you see those type of things. So, man, like I said, I'm always proud of my guys that I've coached. And it's a lot of you guys are out here training and making a difference in these young men's life. And it's much needed, not only as a football coach or a trainer, but just as a young man, being a mentor to these young men. Because some of these young men, they don't have a father figure in their lives. And, you're going to get a lot of love from some of these coaches, man. Some of these coaches do some real good things and some of them do some bad things, but a lot of them really love their kids and want to see them grow. So that was my biggest thing in my life. I didn't understand when I was younger why these coaches were always on me. There was a few coaches, man, that really had my back. I didn't understand it when I was young, but as I got older and became the man that I was, so by the time I was going back to my high schools and going and thanking them, hey, Coach Wilson, thank you, man. Coach, man, thank you for being on me. I didn't understand it then. I was always like, man, why you always messing with me? Why are you always checking in? I didn't understand it, but he cared about me. Yeah. So, and that's the type of coach I want to be. I mean, I want my guys to know that I care about them. It's more than life than football. That's why we talk. A lot of times we get on the phone and talk. We don't even talk about football. We just how you doing. We just talk about life, man. So that's always good for me. And it's always to see my guys be successful, man. And it's just sometimes it's hard to remember all these guys. And it's funny because some of my players be like, Coach, you don't even remember me. And then I'd be like, what school? And I'd be like, what did I call you? And then they say their nickname. Then I know who they are because sometimes I don't even, it's weird because sometimes I don't even know guys' government names. Somebody will be like, oh, that's such and such. I was like, what? That's his name? I was like, I didn't know his name. I called him, we called him Pulio. We called him that. I didn't know his name. Exactly. Or you just know their last name because, oh, that's Jackson. That's what we called him. We didn't call him. Or everybody has a name. Yeah. Or him somehow, or somehow you're always joking, or the one that got beat against Riverside. Yeah, I remember you. You got beat. It's always fun, man. And I enjoy this, man. I appreciate it to let me share my word. Hopefully that it opened the minds of some people. Like I said, man, for you young guys, man, latch on to a coach, man. I'll tell any coaches, man, young coach that's interested in coaches, especially if you're a DB guy, man, and you're in the local area at Mount SAC, man, come through and holler at me, man. I have no problem with sitting it up, chopping to you. I don't know everything, but I know enough to get you started. You know, I had a guy right now, and he's, you know, he's a DB coach at Fullerton College.
Mhm.
He came to me out of high. He was coaching at Bishop Amat. Hey, coach, can I? And I didn't even know him. He just hit me up. Came up to practice like, coach, can I sit in with you in your meeting rooms and this and that? I just want to learn, man. No problem, man. Because I felt like it was coaches like that for me. So I'm just trying to pay it forward, man. Like guys like Coach Walker, he was my coach, but as I started coaching, you know, I can always call him, and you know, whatever school he was at, when he came to visit Mount SAC, I would always get on the board with him and work his camps and do different things. So I'm always there to try to help the next generation because I'm not going to be here forever. I'm gonna try though. You know, I want to be at Mount SAC for a long time. You know, that's the plan. But I always want to get that next group ready. So when I do step down, man, I want to make sure Mount SAC is in good hands. And I want it to be a former SAC dog. I want it to be a dirty boy that comes in and takes over. You know, if you look at Mount SAC, the history of Mount SAC, man, I believe they've only had 4 head coaches. And the school opened up, started playing football in 1946. They've only had 4 head coaches. You know, so a lot of those guys, that means they put in 30, 40 years of coaching, you know, 30 years of coaching at Mount SAC, man. That's crazy. So as long as they've been around and they've only had 4 or 5 head, you know, I believe it's four head coaches. But you know, like I said, young guys, man, that want to coach, man, come check me out at Mount SAC, man. We can talk about football. You know, at any level, at any position. If I don't know it, man, I'll put you in a position. I'll put you in contact with somebody who do know it. You know, there's a lot of great coaches at Mount SAC, man. So we always just trying to develop young guys and just help them any way we can. It's not all about just Mount SAC. It's about helping young men, man. That's my passion. That's what that was the purpose God gave me. So even if you're not a Mount SAC guys, I believe me, I help others. I help other students from other JCs all the time. Believe it or not, all the time. You'd be surprised how many guys from different JCs, coach, can you help me with recruiting? Because this and that. And I do. I don't have a problem with it. I said, but I'm gonna look out for my guys first, but I'll help you. Because that's how we do it at Mount SAC, man. It's about helping young men. It's not just, it's helping our kids at Mount SAC, but it's helping everybody. Because there's a lot of times when recruiters come in and they be like, well, who's the best receiver y'all have facing against coach? I'll be like, man, it's a cold one over. It's a dude over there, man. You need to go over there. I think it was a year. Did we play Moore Park in the playoffs when you played?
We didn't play Moore Park.
Nah, we played a kid from Moore Park in the playoffs. This dude was real. I was like, coach, y'all need to go see that dude. I don't know. Oh yeah, we heard about him. I'm like, yeah. But you know, that's what it's about, man. It's about helping kids. But again, man, thank you, Ike, man. I appreciate you, man. Tell all my Dina boys I said what's up. It's all love. Come and holler at me. Come get on my young bucks, the pups this year.
Sure.
You know how we do. And thank you, man, and bless you and the family.
Yes, sir. All right, Coach Johnson. I'll talk to you.
All right, brother. Yes, sir.